All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome back to the REMINGTOM podcast. And Drake with the Melodies is back, chat. He is just in time for a Valentine's Day release. And I think he's trying to give us a theme song for the, a soundtrack for the day, chat. A soundtrack for the night. Anyways, who knows? I think we'll get into the whole thing. But like we said, Drake with the Melodies is back. And it's a big night of basketball as well, too. We've got the celebrity game about to start up. All-Star Weekend, I guess, is in progress, of course, for the NBA. The NBA celebrity game, they're still doing it, and it kicks off the weekend. It's about to get underway. They're introducing the starting lineups right now. And we've got of course, the revamped all of All-Star Weekend, but starting, I guess the celebrity game is the one thing. They're like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The celebrity game is good to go, but they've got everything else like split up into 3-on-3 teams and 4-on-4 teams. And it's going to be mini tournaments and all this stuff. And we're going to see some version of it with the Rising Stars team tonight as well too. But man, the NBA, they really have our back on a Valentine's Day. This is pathetic, chat. You think they'd give us some actual game? I don't remember like All-Star Weekend and Valentine's Day like lining up on the same week, chat. I don't know if I'm crazy and just not remembering Valentine's Day, typically a forgettable holiday. Not a ton of memories that, well, it depends, I guess. But, I don't remember exactly like going to like a Valentine's dinner one night and then watching the slam dunk contest the next night. Like I don't remember that being back to back. But this year, I guess, shout out, chat, if that's your weekend plans. And shout out to everybody right now, of course, too, at the dinners with the AirPod in, listening to the REMINGTOM pod. It's, clutch. You got to do it. But we appreciate the support. We appreciate the love. Because, like Drake, we cater. The album is for everybody. The REMINGTOM pod, it's for everybody. For the singles, the couples, do we want to keep going, chat? The thruples? I don't know. But like we said, it's for everybody. So, however many people you're in a relationship with, chat. Maybe everybody in the relationship just has can you do like the air share on, I guess, can you do that with YouTube? Obviously you can do like the share mode with Spotify and with Apple Play, but either way, shout out to everybody dropping in. Do we just need to take a quick look at the celebrity game rosters? I feel like typically the celebrity game has always been like a sleeper event that I always really enjoyed. And you say always, chat, and then you're like, wait, when you're a kid, you kind of enjoy everything, and you're just, you're in on the NBA. You're just every event that the NBA is doing, you're gonna watch, and it's gonna be the best thing ever. But I always liked the celebrity game. It was fun. Of course, they used to. Well, shout out to everybody in the game as well too. Now they're all crushing it, obviously, in life. But it just felt like the players. I mean, the Kevin Hart days when you're like a teen, preteen, teen, and Kevin Hart's winning the MVP every year of the celebrity game. Like, it was actually kind of popping there for a second. It was kind of, there was at least some clips and stuff. I guess, internet clips and all that was still in the early phase. But at least in the YouTube version of that, it was still, it was still happening, of course, in the, like 2011, 2012. Even though, when was Instagram actually started? I have to go back and, because remember, of course, we're a smaller kid. We're probably a little later to getting logged onto the stuff than maybe when it actually got invented. But I still feel like it would have been all pretty close. And then to when it actually, crosses over from being a starting thing to being a kind of a thing that just, that some people are using, and then the thing that, everybody has. But, they got a pretty, a stacked roster, chat. You got to give love. You got to give shout out. And just because, we might not necessarily know who every celebrity on the list is, chat, doesn't mean that obviously they're not worthy of competing in the celebrity game. They got Kai Cenat, of course, so the heavy hitter. And Drewski, shout out to Drewski. You got the heavy hitters. The former players, so the team captains, are the captains playing? This is actually the thing that I might even be most curious about as well, too. Obviously, we'll see if Drewski hits a couple threes, but are Barry Bonds and Jerry Rice actually going to play? Because that might be pretty crazy. I mean, we got to see Mike Tyson fight last year. We're going to get to see Jerry Rice play a basketball game. I just want to see all these old athletes just compete in these sports, chat. Again, we never got to watch Jerry Rice actually play football. So if the only thing competitively we ever actually get to watch Jerry Rice live perform in is the celebrity game, then hey, you know what? It is what it is. We love basketball, and we're big fans of what Jerry Rice was able to accomplish in his NFL career. So these two things line up perfectly, and we're definitely going to enjoy it, chat. And Barry Bonds as well too, same thing. But like, and again with Mike Tyson, obviously we weren't around watching Mike Tyson fighting back in the 90s, unfortunately, but we did get to see him for one round. In one moment, there was a split moment where he had Jake Paul like legitimately worried, and there's like boxer worried, and then there's like real like street fight, like I'm about to get hit, like, oh no, I'm about to get beat up by this guy, this guy's charging me. Like there's like a street fight flinch, and then there's the boxer that realizes that the tides are starting to turn, and maybe the onslaught from the guy is going to be too much, or at least is like, whoa, is that what's about to happen? And there's still like a composure to it. Not that Jake Paul lost composure in that moment, but just the way that he spazzed out, it was legit like in a street fight, like, oh man, Mike Tyson is about to really kick my butt here. And unfortunately, Mike Tyson is just 60 years old. It is what it is. But also 2 Chainz and Cabby Lame as the other coaches. And then for former players on Team Bonds, we've got Baron Davis going up against Matt Barnes versus Team Jerry Rice. Matt Barnes, of course, all the smoke. Is Baron Davis is, what pod is he on, chat? I'm sure he's on one of them. But I think he's also in the big 3 as well, too, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think Matt Barnes probably is as well. But, even in the big 3, is Matt Barnes star player? Is he still like doing the role player thing in the big 3? And the return of, Terrell Owens. We should mention Terrell Owens. Who's the NFL guy for Team Bonds? Do they have... They just said Pablo Schreiber is basically an NFL guy, chat. Am I crazy? Who's Mickey Guyton? Should I know who Mickey Guyton is? Okay, country singer. So that's the Walker Hayes counterpart to Team Rice. Shout out to Walker Hayes, a celebrity game veteran. I feel like he's been in a couple of these games, and he knows what he's doing. Oh, Tucker Halpern. Who is Tucker Halpern? They're running a piece right now on Tucker Halpern. He's not a reporter on Fox News, or at least a former one. He's a guy that used to play at Brown. So does he have some of the qualifications? I guess I don't know where Brown leans, but pause. But 10 points a game at Brown, an Ivy League school, 10 points in the Ivy League, and Tucker Halpern's in the celebrity game. Is Tucker Halpern like the new Secretary of Housing or something? Because Arnie Duncan, and you make no mistake, just a guy that averaged 10 points a game could just getting appointed to any position now wouldn't be a surprise. But it's like, do you have to average at least 20? But, Arnie Duncan was, what was he secretary of, chat? Secretary of something. But, secretary of assist in the All-Star game? IT, write that one down. SNL, the 50th anniversary is this weekend. There we go. They can steal that joke. But Arnie Duncan was a baller in the celebrity game. One of the better non-pro athletes, I would say, to ever play in the game. I don't know if we want to like unveil our all-time list, but if we were doing the draft, I mean, just without doing any research, like that would be one of the names that I'm comfortable. Like I know what you're getting from Arnie Duncan, and I think you get some size as well too. Pause. I think 6'7", 6'8". Maybe he's like 6'4", 6'5" in the real world. It looks tall, but for a 6'8" politician would be crazy. What is he, Lincoln, chat? Modern day Lincoln? Would Lincoln been a passer like Arnie Duncan? I could see it, chat. Do we need to do like a presidential basketball comp at some point? We might have to. It might be a little tough that Lincoln doesn't get like a pro player comp and he just gets another politician as his basketball comp. It's like, no, Lincoln, you're Arnie Duncan. You're not, Pascal Siakam or something. Lincoln is Pascal Siakam? That's not bad, chat. Could we see Pascal Siakam in a top hat? I don't know, I could see him kind of playing the same kind of downhill gangly style. But again, are we thinking like Lincoln's the playmaker? And we don't want to make this controversial, chat. We're just talking about basketball skill here. And I get that when we, go back with some of the presidents, it may even get more controversial when we start doing the comps. But just to keep it moving after Tucker Halpern, yeah, I guess I don't know who so somehow Team Jerry Rice just gets Terrell Owens and Team Bonds doesn't get anybody. And Terrell Owens was like Was he an active player when that was playing? So that's even crazier. Like an active NFL wide receiver who's arguably the best wide receiver in the league. When was Terrell Owens in the celebrity game? Was that 08? I want to say it was like 07 or 08. And of course, he undoubtedly won the MVP and dominated, threw down dunks, as you would expect. Insane highlights. Yeah, unfortunately, his new celebrity game appearance is just going to pollute the algorithm, chat. Let's see. Was it 2007? 2007, Terrell Owens versus Darrelle Revis. Are we going to get sidetracked, chat? We may get sidetracked. Like we said, it is the celebrity game. So some old school Revis versus Owen highlights might not be the worst thing in the world to get sidetracked on. But let's see. Is there like a... There's not a list of MVPs? Okay, yeah. 08 and 09. Shout out Tony Potts, I guess. 07. Emmy-winning television personality and producer? TV producer or music producer, Chad? I guess television producer. Good Day, New York? He produces the morning show in New York and he won MVP of the celebrity game? Shout out to Tony Potts, man. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I didn't also realize that Michael Rappaport ever won this award. But yeah, Arnie Duncan, see, he split it with Kevin Hart in 2014. And let's be honest, like Kevin Hart, I mean, he was obviously balling out, the 4-time MVP in a row. But Arnie Duncan was probably the best player in this game. You know, I think Kevin Hart was just winning the fan vote every year. But Kevin Hart, again, was also good. We're not criticizing Kevin Hart's basketball skill. But this is a pretty crazy run, I guess, just in general from when it starts. But, you know, Kevin Hart, but even Bieber was still like, his highlights were crazy. You know, people were definitely talking about him. People were like, look at Bieber go in the celebrity game. That's a lot of fun. So at least the 2011 one like generated some hype. And I think that all the way through maybe 19, because Quavo was in at 19. But Quavo was in at like 17 and 16 too. I feel like Quavo was a little... I don't want to call... Quavo's obviously not like a celebrity game bust, pause, because he won the MVP in 2018. But Quavo had a couple games where you're like, we could have expected a little bit more from him. And maybe it just wasn't quite the efficiency. But again, you know, good field goal percentage is not necessarily what you're going for in the celebrity game. So it doesn't look like Bonds and Rice, I guess they're actually coaching. I'm thinking like pickup style coaching. Like these guys like went out and drafted the teams. No, like actually, okay, yeah. Barry Bonds and Jerry Rice are actually coaching the teams. Makes sense. We're locked in now. We're going. Tucker, what's this guy's name again? Tucker Carlson? I don't know what this guy's name is, chat. T.O. somehow just getting it rigged to get T.O. on the back of the jersey. And Kai Cenat off the bench. Shout out to 2 Chainz as well, too, on the new Alchemist album with Larry June. Alchemist production, of course. Absolutely incredible. And Larry June, you know, an underground guy, always known for being, you know, a real lyrically strong in a lot of his projects. But every time, at least recently, like 2 Chainz has been in a couple of these collab albums where you're like, is 2 Chainz just the best part of this album in general? Yeah, that's even talking about the Alchemist production, which was fantastic. I mean, it's hard to top Alchemist production in any album, unless you're Freddie Gibbs. But that 2 Chainz, Lil Wayne, Welcome to College Grove, the second one that they did, there's a couple songs on there where, I mean, Lil Wayne's going crazy too. I mean, he's got a couple of good verses, but there's a couple of songs where 2 Chainz is, is that Rakia Jackson, chat? And Rakia Jackson is kind of a cheat code, I guess. Is she the counter to Terrell Owens, chat? The professional athlete? Which team is she on? Is she also on Team Rice? There's been a couple of people I feel like added to the game as well, too. Am I stupid, chat? I don't see her on this list. But she's in the game right now. And I think she's on... she is on Team Bonds. Okay, yeah. So she would be going up against the Drewski, Walker Hayes, Terrell Owens, Shabuzi combo. Are we going to get that lineup at some point? And Chris Brickley's like an actual basketball trainer, so he kind of has to play well in this game. Who are the have to play well people? Chris Brickley definitely has to play well. The old athletes, it's like fun if they do play well, but they don't have to play well. It doesn't matter. T.O. plays well in the celebrity game. Who cares, chat? He's there. It's just good that, T.O. just willing to risk an ACL to be out there. You love to see it. I think T.O.'s trying to make a comeback in the actual NFL or CFL or UFL or something. He's trying to play in one of the football leagues, but just these guys just at least willing to take the chance to run around, have a good time, put it on the line. But Rakia Jackson's again, a current WNBA player, college star at Tennessee, chat. There we go. Look at that. Look at that WNBA recall, chat. We're getting there. We're learning. Is that Pablo Schreiber? Shout out. Still haven't seen Den of Thieves 2 yet, but Den of Thieves 1. Iconic. Will we probably just end up rewatching Den of Thieves 1 before we go see Den of Thieves 2? Probably. But is there a chance we see Den of Thieves 2 before we see Captain America? There's also a chance of that, chat. You just got to work your way through the watch list. That's how it works. Oh, is that Schreiber again? Oh, how's that not a foul on Shabuzi? Shabuzi just took out Pablo Schreiber. I mean, see, chat, this is why you love the celebrity game right here. Because you get moments where Shabuzi goes in for the block on Pablo Schreiber. Oh, that's clean. That's clean. My bad. I don't want to turn this into a thing, but, I'm just saying we've watched Den of Thieves more than we've listened to Shabuzi songs. Maybe if you count times we've heard Shabuzi songs just it's playing at like a mall or something, or just like at the restaurant you work at or whatever, just being on the radio anywhere, at the Super Bowl, at like a Thanksgiving game, or not, at just like the halftime of a Thanksgiving game. Look at that, chat. We're mixing up the Super Bowl and the halftime. That's how incredible Kendrick's performance was. I just was thinking halftime, and I just thought of it as the Super Bowl. Of course, this year it definitely was, because shout out to Mahomes. He did not deliver, chat. Not like Pablo Schreiber out here hustling. Schreiber's already done more work than Mahomes the entire game. Probably has definitely more yards. We were seeing the stats as well, too. I'm sure everybody saw it. But Kendrick ran more yards during the halftime show than the Chiefs were able to accumulate in the entire game. I mean, come on, chat. What are we doing here? The three-peat? It is one of those games. Like, we made the case that, Mahomes... obviously Mahomes, if his legacy continues to be great, he can catch Tom Brady. That's an obvious take. But is it one of those things where you look back at the other two Super Bowls and it's like, who cares? They sucked this one. It was so bad. And they were being helped by the, all the narratives of them being helped by the refs all year. They've got this actor model, too. You love when they put the actor model on the credits for a guy, but I guess, chat. Pause. Hey, yo. But, yeah, I think this is just a tryout. I think he's thinking he might get a 10-day off of this. There's always one guy that's going for a 10-day in this game. Make no mistake, that would definitely be me. If it ever is Rem and Sam in the game, see, chat, I don't know what happens. Do we get in the game or coach? I don't want to coach the game. I want to play in the game. I want to actually... And do we put me and Sam on opposite teams, chat? I want to guard Sam. Let's go get a little crossover, chat, on the co-host. I guess we'll have to really start, crushing the Bulgarian split squats if we're going to hit a dunk on Sam at some point, or anybody in the celebrity game. Or just, we'd really have to do some leg days if we're going to be posterizing people. That's a different level of, athleticism. A la Anthony Edwards last night on Chet Holmgren. Welcome back, Chet. Been in a couple of games now, but Edwards with just a ridiculous poster. One of those, going in like he's one of those flying squirrels, chat, or like Spider-Man or something, just one of the two. Either pick one, chat, but just flying in crazy, yamming it on Chet. But maybe like a breakaway transition, nobody's in front, you get the clean run up, or a nice clean cut where it's like a really well placed lob or something, or just a good pass where you could just go right up and then lay it in, or kind of pseudo dunk it a little bit. But yeah, shout out, chat, to the old celebrity game as we enter our first timeout. I think Dylan Wang is a familiar name for this game as well too. I think he's been in this game a couple times. I think Drewski's been in this game too. I for some reason can't remember if he has been, but there's no way that there's no way that this is his first year in the celebrity game. Like the NBA, what are you doing? You know, Drewski, especially for NBA circles, like feels like he should. The fact that Drewski hasn't elevated to the Kevin Hart level yet, chat of MVPs. Kevin Hart, there you go. There's more material for you if you need to just roast Drewski. But you would think that it would almost, and you know, Kevin Hart chat doing movies and stuff. What was his IMDb like back in that 2012, 2013? Obviously, you know, Soul Plane is well in the books at this point, chat. But the stand-up specials, I feel like, are really peaking at this time as well, too. So I feel like even... Oh, Right Along is 2014. So, yeah, Arnie Duncan's screwed. There's no way that Arnie Duncan was going to win MVP outright if Kevin Hart was releasing Right Along that year. I feel like that movie was... movie did pretty well. But Jumanji would have been a little bit after that. Central Intelligence 2016. So, yeah, would have been post his playing career. Right Along 2 in 2016 as well. Get Hard with Will Ferrell 2015. Pause. Ayo, pause. We've got oh yeah, this is his appearance, of course. This is the end in 2013. We've got Think Like a Man 2012. Okay. Yeah, for sure. We're really starting to see him. Something Like Business, chat. Something Like a Business 2010. I'm trying to remember if I've even ever seen this one. Tubi? Well, it might be getting a watch, chat. Is it fall under rom-com category? Oh, Jesus, chat. I don't know if it does. An aspiring pimp struggles to make a mint after inheriting his uncle's escort service and discovering that the competition on the streets is fierce, chat. Is this an appropriate way to end a Valentine's night, chat? Valentine's going to be as scary as Halloween? Sometimes, but is this an appropriate movie for the day, chat? We'll see. A 3.7 stars on IMDb. I don't know if people were messing with the plot of this one. Let's see. It was funny, stereotypes-filled movies. Some scenes was shocking. Couple of people actually trying to give like in-depth analysis. But I mean, come on, chat. We don't want to spoil the movie. Okay, here's a 7 out of 10. Shout out to Kevin Hart. We're just we're not trying to, you know, uncover the, you know, any more tweets or anything like that, you know, for Kevin Hart. But we're just, you know, trying to find a new movie to watch, I guess. But this movie, oh, a 7 out of 10. The first part of this review says this movie won't appeal to everyone, especially today due to all the quote wokeness, chat. This is in the review. So prevalent and so demeaning in our society. I think we know which the way this person is voting, chat. I think we know which color this person may have had on in November. If the political parties were gangs, chat, I think we know which color that this guy would be rocking. It was extremely well done. Oh, chat, I don't even know if we can trust this review, chat. I don't even know if this is a trustworthy thing. I don't even know if we can finish some of the stuff he was saying. Something Like a Business, the old Kevin Hart pimp vehicle, 2010. Wow, chat. Followed by, or I guess, right after Little Flockers, 2010. That's also a little bit of a pause as well, but we got a Ben Stiller vehicle, Robert De Niro. We need to catch up on some of these under the radar early 2010 comedies, chat. I don't know. Death at a Funeral 2010, a busy 2010. This was peak Kevin Hart just hustling and working. 2008, Fool's Gold. Who's in this? Do we just need to do a Kevin Hart run, chat? I mean, I don't know if he has a movie with over 6 stars from like 2008. I don't know, for like 5 years. There's a good run of movies here. Let's see. Okay, he gets a 6.2 in 2006, but that's a TV show. Here, let's get this down to just some movies. And shout out, Kevin Hart. This is all love, you know? We're rewatching the, you know, Soul Plane and all the stand-up specials all the time. there's one part in one of the, I always forget which special it's in, but Jesus, Chad, but but one of the early specials has this moment where he's in Cleveland. So I guess that's just be an easy way to remember it, would just be to look up which early one he filmed in Cleveland. And LeBron is there, and Shaq is there as well too. It's when Shaq is on the Cavs, I think, or is it like a Shaquille O'Neal comedy thing? But I think it's when they're in Cleveland, and Shaq is on the team as well. But he just has one. I literally don't even remember the joke. It just, LeBron laughs so hard at the joke that he starts standing up and just waving his arms and just takes his hat off and is just laughing so hard. Pause, and the camera literally cuts to LeBron for a second just to capture the moment of this guy taking it off. It was definitely like a little bit of a LeBron moment for sure, but like kind of maybe I mean, he's standing up, everybody else, it was not like a standing ovation moment. LeBron was definitely, again, it's 6'8", LeBron is standing up. It's going to be noticeable. But just how funny LeBron thought that joke was. It just, shout out the champ. It gets us every time, chat. And, Kevin Hart, of course, you're rewatching the special for the material, but we go back and rewatch that LeBron reaction just about as much as we rewatch any joke. There's, of course, gun compartment, all-time joke. The joke where he's taking out the trash at night, classic. The Wi-Fi joke, all-time. Who's Wi-Fi? Oh, geez, chat. We're going to be on a Kevin Hart run now pretty soon, but... Again, if it's going to include some of these early movies, we may have to sit through a few. So, okay, yeah, 40-year-old Virgin in 2005, Soul Plane in 2004. That's right, he's in Along Came Polly in 2004 as well, too. So that's honestly like a pretty strong start. He does Paper... I don't know how this is just... the Celebrity Game is just randomly turned into a Kevin Hart career breakdown. But Paper Soldiers, Death of a Dynasty in 2003... He played P. Diddy in Death of a Dynasty? Dash is the CEO of Rockefeller Records, home of hip-hop's biggest seller, Jay-Z. The film tells a story of a beef between Jay-Z and Dash over a discerning... Whoa! Chat! This is another crazy... Kevin Hart picking some crazy plots. Maybe we don't dig too deep for his own sake in some of these early movies. But, he's not... I don't think... Is he taking these off the resume, chat? I think they've been been removed from the credits at this point in his career. But 04, Soul Plane, and 40-Year-Old Virgin is a pretty strong 3. And again, maybe it's, Soul Plane a bigger role, but maybe more some side pieces. Side piece, chat? Valentine's Day. But is that a day for the side pieces? But... maybe he's more supporting character. Are we just going to start using these terms? Like, instead of role players and supporting characters, today they're side pieces. Was PND being a side piece of Drake is a pause. But when we get to the Rising Star game a little bit later, who's the side piece to the... maybe not, chat. Who knows? But after that, he goes... In the Mix, Scary Movie 4, The Last Stand. So, I mean, we get a crazy run here. Epic Movie 2007 is a 2.4 stars. So from 2005 all the way to 2000 and all the way till Think Like a Man in 2012. And again, not to just base it off the rating equals good replay value, good movie, whatever. But Think Like a Man, 6.5. We could bump that up a couple. That's totally fine. Even like Soul Plane. We're watching that more than a 4.5 stars is crazy. That's crazy. Because that is like a fan vote as well. I mean, the critic score, Metascore, 33 out of 100. It is, the critics, you can screw them sometimes. Pause. But what are we doing here, chat, as a society if we're voting a Soul Plane a 4.4 out of 10? 40-Year-Old Virgin, 7.1. I mean, that could be an 8. That's a pretty classic comedy, for sure. But he goes for a good 8 years here without getting over a 6 on the ratings. So it doesn't happen overnight, chat, is the moral of the story. It doesn't happen overnight. But luckily, he's able to, get Think Like a Man right in time for the 2012 Celebrity Game. And then... Uh, 5-year engagement. He also appears in 2012 as well too. And then yeah, this is the end in 2013. This is not in a row, but now we're starting to pick up the pace with some of the movies that, the movies that you're rewatching now. Kevin Hart's just gonna be in, because that's the other thing too. It's, are you rewatching a Kevin Hart movie? But also the side roles you pick. It's, you want to be in movies that are going to be rewatched. So I don't know if the In the Mix 2005, is this an Usher vehicle? A successful DJ manages to rescue a powerful mobster one night. In order to repay him, the mobster gives him the task of protecting his daughter. Wait, how is that? I mean, I guess it could turn into some, which is a crazy way to, turn it into some repay chat. But just the, if we're saying to repay you, I'm going to task you with a project, and not to, say whatever, but just to defend anybody. Like, that would seem like a risky task. That would seem like now, I'm expecting you to put yourself on the line and put, now you're, and not that, you shouldn't step up and, help your fellow human being out. But I'm just saying that to repay a debt, it's like, well, now you're going to be a bodyguard for somebody else. It doesn't seem like a great way to get repaid for that, chat. What is Epic Movie about? Oh, a spoof. Oh, this is, okay. So one of those spoof movies, that's not going to be, the critics are not going to lay into that one and be like, they really spoofed the heck out of this one, chat. They did a great job. Really, everything that I would have thought about spoofing, they spoofed. Never heard that in review. Drillbit Taylor. 3 kids hire a low-budget bodyguard to protect him from a playground school bully, chat. Is Kevin Hart school? Is he Drillbit Taylor? Who's Drillbit Taylor? That's kind of a great name. This is an Owen Wilson vehicle. Josh Peck. It does not look good, but you never know. You got to give Owen Wilson and Kevin Hart a chance. But Drillbit Taylor is just a great name in general. So maybe there's a couple in here. Oh, Meet Dave? Yeah, see, like Meet Dave, Eddie Murphy. You're going to throw on an Eddie Murphy more often than some of these other ones. So that's more than a 5.1. I was just going through and scanning the stars real quick. Oh, okay, and I, double checking it. There is a 2009 here, Not Easily Broken. This looks like an actual movie. It's on Pluto. A car accident and shifting affections test the bond between a married couple. So he's really going for some dramatic roles here, chat. Taraji P. Henson and Morris Chestnut? Whoa! This is a powerhouse film, chat. This one might be a little more appropriate for well, who knows? Maybe a little too heavy for a Valentine's Day. But maybe a little bit more appropriate than, what was the other one called, chat? Something's Up to Business or whatever. What a all-time plot, chat. Something's Up to Business. And who would have guessed that, I guess, 2010, it's not like Trump himself would have been in the running at this point, but who would have been in 2010, chat? I obviously was not voting back then. Obama would have been president in 2010, so it would have been the 2008 election that this guy would have been voting in. So we know which way he probably wasn't voting. So when did he run against McCain? He ran against McCain the first time, right? And then who was it the second time? This is the guy that was at the Jazz games. Mitt Romney. I think he was at a couple of those Donovan Mitchell playoff games when they were cooking there for a second with Rudy Gobert. But either way, I don't even know. Has anybody even hit a 4-pointer, chat? Kevin Hart. The Kevin Hart IMDb, very distracting. Pause. I don't know what just happened in the last 7 minutes of the celebrity game. Does anybody know what happened in the last 7 minutes of the celebrity game? I don't think anybody cares, chat. But should we get to the Drake album? Should we go through this Drake album a little bit, chat? Our guy Drake giving us some new material. The first full-length project released since of course, the beef with Kendrick. Since the summer of 2024, chat. And I gotta be honest, I was pretty nervous. I know, obviously, we were anticipating it, and I was just nervous from a quality standpoint, not because of the beef necessarily, but, you also just look at the last couple of albums that he's dropped, and it's not like they've necessarily stacked up as some of the strongest in his catalog. And, same with kind of Party Next Door. Maybe I'm not the most, probably listened to, Chad, we were going through the Weekend albums like the last couple of weeks. There's those R&B heavy hitters out there. Shout out Party, though. Of course, he's an icon. Unfortunately, he just maybe doesn't make his way into our rotation as much as some people. But maybe after this, there's always a moment. There's always a gateway. There's always, I don't know if, this was a Party Next Door moment or not. But he was there. He was having a good time. There's some fun little party bars in this. And, maybe we'll have to go back and give the Party Next Door catalog, another re-listen through. But the problem with re-listening through some of the guys' catalogs, and it becomes like, is this guy's stats going to be like, is my algorithm just going to be messed up with this guy's stats? So I guess shout out to Party Next Door. No offense, brother. I don't want to make it seem like we don't want you up there in our Spotify list. So, I take it all back. We'll go see now. I feel, we'll go through and listen. It's that's not a reason to not give somebody a chance. So now that we've criticized ourselves properly, we'll definitely move and, go forward, be better people. But, of course, like we were saying, we just from what Drake has been producing from an album standpoint, it is just a little bit like, okay, this is a moment as well too where this is a game where Drake needs to play well. This is, game over. The Super Bowl, the series is over as well too, chat. Like, the season is over, whatever the sports analogy is for the Kendrick Drake beef. Like, we're in a new phase. We're in the next thing. I don't, new careers. I don't even know what it is at this point. I don't know what the proper analogy of it is, because it could be like one season, but then again, your legacy can really shift over the course of one season. Like, Jalen Hurts, won the Super Bowl this year. Like, now viewing Jalen Hurts as a Super Bowl winning quarterback, because you think about him just being in 2 Super Bowls, and you lose them both to Pat Mahomes. That's not the worst thing in the world, of course. Obviously, Mahomes would then be ascending into GOAT talk at that point. So, there's no shame in that. Is somebody have to go up against Rakia? Oh no, they were panning in, chat. I was like, why would you put up a celebrity up against a WNBA player in a skills contest? That doesn't make any sense. But we've got still we got a couple of Olympian versus actor, chat. I didn't see the credits. Again, sorry that I'm not familiar with everybody's games. There's gonna be this Shaquille O'Neal for a couple of these people, chat. We got it. Pause Christian Wood, but Christian Wood is crazy. But especially on a Valentine's Day, chat. Pause. But we're not familiar with some of these people's games, chat. On and off the court, it is what it is. But it's not even like Drake is down 3-1 to Kendrick, like we're saying. Like, make no mistake, he's definitely, whatever version of it now, he still has some catching up to do, but it's a new thing now. It's not the same finals and Drake is down 3-0 and he needs to just get a win on the board to save some face. Like, can Drake at least just not be swept? They have these people just doing hurdles. This is literally just I guess they're probably hurdle. Oh, okay, so that's probably what they do for the Olympics. I see. The NBA, okay, using their brains a little bit. I like it. Got to mix in what they do what their specialty is with the basketball. So what are we going to have Kai Cenat do like a office chair race with Drewski, like a streamer office chair race? Who can roll their gaming chair across the court the fastest? I don't know how they incorporate the Twitch skills with the basketball and some of these skills contests. Walker Hayes, can he play? How many 3-pointers can he make while playing the guitar, chat? We'll just have to see. But it's a new season. It's in some ways a blank slate, but again, the legacy is still, we're looking at it in a different way. And not to turn this again into just a Drake versus a Kendrick thing, but he is of course dropping this the week after Kendrick, or in the same week that Kendrick just performed at the Super Bowl. Like, he's dropping this 5 days, because Kendrick is performing at night as well too, so the hours wise, 5-ish days to the drop of the album. So Kendrick is still going to be on the front of the mind. That performance, like we're saying, literally was the highlight of the game itself, and just the momentum of any Super Bowl storyline that's going to carry. Like, Kendrick is just going to be in the news cycle for a second here, but again, with what Kendrick was able to accomplish at the Super Bowl and just what this rise has meant, not even just for a 1v1, like who would you rather, like skill guys sort of ordeal. Cause that's the, the tough part about this that has emerged as well too, and that's why Drake, I think, really eagerly wants to get back into a rap battle with Kendrick. As much as that seems like a bad idea, it's like that is always going to be the thing that is like the people are going to be like, well, he kind of he literally got the win. It's like the Brady Mahomes thing, where unless Mahomes like really catches up to Brady's legacy in a really real way, like if it ever becomes a debatable thing, like the Brady people are always going to debate that Brady got the wins versus the Mahomes in some of those playoff games, even if I feel like that's not necessarily a fair way to, like, I just feel like, there's so many other things to look at with the Brady case. And if that's what you're looking at, it's like, well, you can go into those games and look at those games and be like, well, okay, D4 jumped off sides in one of those games. If we know that Mahomes' team was just like wasted, like that was actually a mismatch in the game. Because like we were saying during that Super Bowl, like Mahomes was actually playing well in that Tampa Bay game. It was clear that the roster around him was not. And in this game, just the Chiefs were not playing well. The Chiefs, yes, the Eagles, we come away from that and go, they are the most talented team in the league. But we could go back and stack up those rosters and go, yeah, the Chiefs are a stacked team. It's not the lack of talent per se that they lost the game. It's a reason why the Eagles were so dominant. But the Chiefs could have won that game if they played well. Yeah, for sure, Chad. I mean, if it's a close game and now the refs have to call a couple of fouls your way, like, make no mistake, the Chiefs are right in it. But, again, Chad, like we're saying, the Mahomes-Brady legacy is always going to be an interesting comparison because Brady was able to get those couple of wins and then just dip out due to retirement. And, unless there's like, I guess there's always, the certain artist potential that could happen for a reason that guys' careers could fall off. And of course, after the battle, it seemed like that was going to be Drake, not Kendrick. But just musically, what could even Kendrick do at this point to really fall off? And that's kind of a take that I've been workshopping as well too. And I don't want to turn this into a Kendrick thing, so maybe we'll take it, but or maybe we'll save it. But but there's been, again, shout out to the NFR pod. I know we've referenced them a bunch on here, but they've talked a lot about the Kendrick legacy stuff, and they've brought up some stuff about just, where he's at with the start of his career. And it's just had me thinking about, the start of his career versus, his start. It's the Mahomes thing, the start versus the totality of the other guys. And it's like, it becomes an interesting comparison. And it just, I don't know if it still needs a little bit of time, but again, like, unless there's a real musical way that Kendrick really dips behind Drake, then that's always going to be the thing. But it doesn't matter. Like, you still have to, like everybody's saying, you still have to do your thing. You still have to just drop music, and you still have to get back to business as usual. And if that opportunity arises at some point in the future and you have a chance to redo that in any way, even if it's, who knows if it even happens in another, full-on exchange in the way that it does, or if it's something a little more subtle, and now all of a sudden, a couple of tracks over time, and we're going, hey, look at, like, the bars are stacking up. And again, I'm not even saying that this is, a takeaway. I'm just saying, like, maybe that is a timeline that is out there where you go over, there's some sneak dissing over time or something, and it just is able to accumulate to where you go, oh, now there's a real body of work here to put up against maybe the stuff that Kendrick, and then whatever it is able to accumulate. Like, I don't know, chap, but regardless, it's like new season, new start. You just got to start fresh, and you just got to start dropping music. And in this new season, it really is now, what phase of Drake's career are we entering? Are we still in that prime Drake phase, or are we going to start to enter a new thing? And it's not a numbers thing as well too. And I was going to mention, speaking on the numbers, this is what I was going to mention as well too with Kendrick, as with what he was going to do after the Super Bowl. But he has now, like, broken actual Spotify streaming records, and he was, of course, in the mix as some of the highest streaming hip hop guys after the beef and with what he's able to accomplish with GNX and all that stuff. But now he's starting to take down, like, real all-time streaming stuff. And that was going to be, again, one of the things that the pro Drake people in an all-time argument might be able to make for his case would be, well, the impact that he had in the streaming era, in his numbers in the streaming era, and Drake is just by far the most dominant guy, and he's number one. And that's just a thing that Kendrick can't have over him. And there is still a time spent at the top that we have to give Drake credit for if we're just comparing these two. If we're just comparing this one thing, the impact on the streaming era, there is still, like we're saying, that time spent thing that you would still have to give him credit for. But now that Kendrick is actually breaking these records and ascending to these heights that, again, literally no other rapper has ever been to, not even Drake. Kendrick is the first rapper now to cross 90 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Drake at the peak of his powers has never crossed that. And I remember even when he got up to 88, I think he actually broke the record for most streamed before he even got to 90 million. The 90 million was just a separate milestone that nobody else had ever achieved, but I think he had gotten up to 88 million and broken the record or something like that, chat. I don't remember exactly what the stats was, but I remember looking at his peak and looking at Drake's peak and being like, oh, his peak's already higher than Drake's. Like the streaming thing's already kind of happening, and now he's even in this, he's ascending to stratospheres where, other hip-hop guys haven't even gone. And it's like, well, is this, case of the argument as well too? Like how many different categories is Kendrick gonna start sniping down as just time continues and as the ascent goes? And I get that, again, even after the Super Bowl, like GNX was projected to sell like another 200 and plus, maybe even 250 plus thousand. Just insane, chat. I forget what it even did. It do, I remember the opening week was a little lower than maybe we thought it was going to be. It did an insane number again for the Super Bowl, higher than most opening weeks for last year anyways, for this next week. But he's kind of taking that one down as well too. So like I'm saying, are we like he is in a position where he still needs to kind of have a couple of good seasons to get that legacy back on track a little bit and not start losing all these other things to Kendrick as well too. Because again, like we're saying, I don't know, he can move into his a different phase of his career from a quality standpoint. It might not necessarily reflect in the numbers. Like look at a guy like Eminem. Shout out to Eminem. But like maybe Death of Slim Shady isn't an album that is the same quality as some of the earlier albums, or even a bunch of the albums that he's dropped recently. Maybe you wouldn't rank those as high up in his discography as some of his earlier pre-streaming work, but in the streaming era, Eminem is still able to dominate, even if he's not. He's still one of the highest all-time streaming artists and still one of the highest all-time consumed artists, even if he's not dropping at the highest quality in the current game. And I get, he just got nominated for the Grammy as well too. So like we do have to put some respect on Eminem's album. We're not saying it's a trash album by any means. Like the Death of Slim Shady is a good album. I'm just saying, is it an album of the year contender on a list? I get, again, like the Grammys and the lists, it's a different thing. I'm willing to separate the two. But if we're really stacking up and making the list, is he dropping those consistent top-notch projects every time? It's just not quite the same competitive guy. And it happens for athletes, it happens for actors, it literally happens for everybody. Like we'd have to really go through and think, what is the longest run that we've seen from a musician? And I know maybe like some bands as well too. And it gets weird as well where you like some of these rock bands and stuff where they can still like sell out arenas and a stadium occasionally, it feels like. And there's still obviously people that are really into whatever that group is, even if it's not in the mainstream the same way, but it's like the numbers there's still a popularity factor that can still be there. But again, just in terms of a guy consistently dropping top-notch projects and dominating commercially and just being the go-to guy for who is on top of the game right now, what is the longest run almost in any genre? And I feel like hip-hop would be the hardest the most difficult genre to have the span in. And hip-hop in terms of that is a little bit newer as well too. I know 50 years of hip-hop, we celebrated that recently. Some of those early development years, how do those really count in terms of commercial impact into this whole conversation? It has to take a couple of steps and progress a different way before we start bringing that factor in. And then you get to the 90s and you get a guy like, or you get guys like Pac and Big where I was actually thinking about this as well too when we were we did the 2026 who should perform in the 2026 on the last live stream, and we were talking about that a little bit. And after that, I was thinking about just all-time theoretical, like, who could have potentially have performed in the halftime. And I was like, man, if Pac and Big were still around, like, I feel like Pac might have been able to, and Big, of course, as well, too. But, you know, Pac being maybe, you know, Kendrick, obviously, the inspiration that he took from him and just the messaging in the song, like, maybe that's something that is able to be on that big stage a little bit quicker. I know you say maybe it's something that is a little more controversial, but, you know, like, with how Kendrick was able to ascend that way, would Pac, not by just taking down Big, you know, and destroying him. And, you know, he had his diss tracks too, where, you know, that beef was its own thing. But I was like, man, both of those guys could have definitely had the commercial success to be able to. I feel like both those guys could have been in the running to pull off that performance at some point, or at least maybe even be out there in the, you know, 2020, I forget what, 2021, the 2022, the Dr. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, when they brought all the whole crew out. Like, you know, how is Pac is definitely in that crew, right? Maybe Big's not in the West Coast crew on that Super Bowl, but like Pac's probably in that crew. But then you get, of course, their careers, unfortunately, you know, are just cut short, and, you know, their lives just in general cut short. And you're not able to see what that run of commercial success would really look like. And then Jay, again, he's always going to drop a #1 album. Like, M's going to drop a #1 album, but his career is a little bit different, where he had kind of a consistency thing where, you know, Reasonable Doubt hits as a classic, and then he's dropping, you know, really good projects, and then the Blueprint a classic, the Black Album a classic, and then comes back later with, you know, like 444 and another, you know, kind of classic albums. His classics are more spaced out. Nas, did he ever really ascend to the commercial heights as those type of guys? Like, he definitely dropped #1 albums for sure. He was definitely, I mean, he's Nas, like, the man was a prominent force. It is, but, you know, even in the 2010s, late 2000s, even a little bit more commercially, like, you know, Nas was going to be a mainstay. But, you know, that run of dominance of just like, who is the year-over-year rapper, it's like, you know, Drake still does, I guess, have that thing as well too. So I guess, is that maybe the one thing that, but then again, you go like, Kendrick has had the run, even if it's a little bit different. Like, he's had the ability to kind of, you know, go back and forth and in and out of not necessarily the top spot, but just being like the front of everybody's mind and the forefront of, like, you know, I don't want to say the forefront of culture, because again, like, Kendrick has always been at the forefront of culture, but just in terms of the mainstream, like, who we're talking about, it's always when Kendrick drops, he's always been a big moment, but he's always had the ability to kind of ascend back as well too. Whereas just Drake, every year it was like, I'm just a studio album one year, a mixtape the next year, and I'm just going to stay at the top every year. So even the fact that it's really obviously close at this point. We know that Kendrick has, with his career at this point, has just established himself as not only, of course, above Drake, but just in the GOAT conversation. But especially with what this album was going to be as well too, sonically, like I was saying, I was nervous for it. Like, I guess we could just start going through the tracks to just go through some of the thoughts, because CN Tower, like, you start getting some of the dark R&B vibes of the song, and I was willing to, even if I didn't like this album the first time I was listening through it, I was going to be willing to be a little bit more forgiving with the first time review on it, because For All the Dogs has actually been an album that has kind of aged kind of well for me. And, you know, before maybe some of the lawsuit stuff, before some of the stuff was like, okay, do we have to take Drake out of the rotation just a little bit? Like, For All the Dogs was an album that I was finding myself going back to a ton of songs on there, and even warming up to some of the tracks that maybe I wasn't as high on before, and just going like, yeah, this is an album of, again, I'm not going to put it as the top tier as a Drake album, but is this a really solid project, and a project that I would definitely be like, yeah, it's worth a listen? Like, absolutely. Like, you should go through this project and pick out songs that you like, and there's some really good Drake high point rapping performances. There's the Rome Flynn, the actor we were talking about, with a little no-look pass. Maybe we move it from a 10-day to just a full-on two-way contract, chat? Do we just lock him in for the rest of the season? I don't know how aggressive these teams want to get with him. Pause. I feel like a 10-day, though, is like on the roster, too. I feel like maybe a G League contract, you know, bring him in the feeder system and try to work your way up through that way. But again, with For All the Dogs, like, I have found myself going back to some of those tracks. So even in the moment, if I was not going to like this, I'm like, okay, there is always the chance that a Drake album at some point in the road, like, I may go back to and go, okay, there is a lot of quality here that I do find. And after kind of that first nervous anticipation, like, what is this going to be listening to it the first time? Once I got a sense of the album, I actually kind of really enjoy this album. And again, I don't know if this album is going to be an album that stacks up as a great Drake album and is, even comparing it to an album like GNX, the newest Kendrick album versus the newest Drake album. Are they kind of on the same level? Like, Kendrick, with all of his recent projects lately, you kind of go, he's kind of just been a step above, arguably everybody. But, in this maybe one-on-one case, unfortunately, for Drake, Kendrick's kind of been above his opponent in terms of an album standpoint. And it does suffer from, a few of the things that a Drake album, all of Drake's album have suffered from in the past, whereas it's a little long, pause, I guess. Drake always suffering from being a little bit too long, chat. Hey, yo. Wild chat. But, of course, Drake's going to give you an hour plus, an hour plus on any of his albums. And Kendrick is probably going to try to stick. I'm Mr. Morale, the Therapy album. He was really going for a session there, Chad. 2 discs, really had some stuff to work through. But for the most part, he's staying under an hour. And Good Kid, Mad City, I think, is over an hour. But you've got like a 10-minute track on there with Sing About Me Dying of Thirst. And it just turns out that the 10-minute track is literally like I think it's like a 12-minute track. It's literally like the best track on the album. So it's like totally worth listening to. But, he's always going to be concise and narrow it down and really make sure to give it that fine tooth comb of quality. And not that we're saying that Drake is not confident with every song that he's putting on the album. I'm sure that these albums are this way is because he does enjoy all these songs. And you look at an album like For All the Dogs, and he's talked about, wanting to please all his fans. But I'm sure also Drake, enjoys making this type of music as well, too. And then, again, to go to what we were talking about with how this album was going to be sonically, like, one of the strong points of this album, I think, is the fact that there is cohesion here with this project. Like, what Drake is going for. It's those R&B vibes. There's, again, like, maybe it starts a little darker in some of the earlier songs, but this song, it's some sexy songs for you. Like, he's given you R&B sexy songs. And in some of his albums, like, other albums we've talked, I know, like, honestly, Evermind is supposed to be a little bit more of a dance album, but like with For All the Dogs specifically, he was like, I'm trying to cater to a wide fan base. And for this one, it's like, okay, this project is a unique sort of sound for Drake. Is it a little sort of like Views? I think there's definitely some crossover between this and Views, but again, that's OVO. That's kind of that Canadian and Party Next Door influence and all that stuff. Like, I mean, again, the influence is definitely there, but with Views, you're getting, again, more of a landscape. He's giving you, of course, Seasons in that album, but you're getting that R&B, you're getting the rap, you're getting the pop in this. And in this, I mean, you're getting a diverse selection of production as well, too, especially as you get, in the second and, the later parts of the album. But for the most part, again, it's that R&B vibes, and there is at least a sense of direction with this album, which is at least good for, it's like, okay, at least there's a piece of the puzzle there for that Drake solo album. Because if he does hit with another big solo album, it will be, again, just a big sort of easy way for us to put him back in these conversations. It's not that, again, we're already not doing it, but it just, with this album too, like, I've been thinking a lot as well about, like, just like where Drake is as a rapper in the bigger grand scheme of things, like we all have. But it's like, how do you rank him? Are you ranking him based on his discography? Are you ranking him based on his ability, the whole thing? Are you ranking him just based on the rapping ability? Because that is on, the thing on the beef with him and Kendrick is not that he did not deliver great rapping performances, Family Matters and stuff. Like, there's definitely, you go, okay, if this is an all-time sparring match, like, I mean, Drake was, mowing down guys like Meek Mill like pretty easily. Like, you know, he's a step above just like a, I was gonna say a mid rapper. Meek Mill's obviously not a mid rapper. Meek Mill's dropped some great projects, and Meek Mill's had great runs. Shout out the guy, but you know, he's a cut above a guy that maybe had a moment. Like, he's still an all-time great, but against, when we start making the list and putting the all-time greats together, it's like, well, in the matchup against the all-time great, he got taken down in a way that is just, you know, more impressive than some of these other guys, more dominant than some of these other guys, and the aftermath of it as well too. You know, like, that's another, like, Drake didn't help himself in the beef in terms of the all-time factor of it, of like how impactful was the track and how devastating was the beef. You know, Drake just continuing to make moves and referencing it and then getting in the lawsuit. And I get that there is the potential industry stuff behind it as well too. You know, at this point it's kind of, you know, see it to believe it. And I'm not trying to say that in like a mean way. It's just, you know, it seems like with both sides laid out, it's a tough case that he's building, and don't know if he's necessarily going after the right things. And obviously, you know, I don't know if court is the way to do it, but when you just start, you know, looking at his ability against these rappers, it is starting to be forgotten a little bit. And, you know, obviously we'll have the going back and looking at the early careers at some point, whenever that retrospective is, and, you know, being like, yeah, you know, Drake is, again, like, he's in the mix for these all-time guys. But if he's able to still remind us in the moment, like, that would be, for the legacy, just a big thing. And pause and be able to still get his self. And, you know, again, he's trying to do that, but this is why we want him to continue to drop this musical stuff, because we need him to just prove that he can still be in the mix for those top-notch projects every year and just consistently deliver some of the best stuff. And for the vibes that he's giving, like CN Tower, and, you know, throughout the project, again, like, if we're talking lyrics and some of the sparring stuff, and, you know, is he obviously he's not doing the same stuff as Kendrick Paw, so it's like hard to compare their lyrical content, but just even what their capabilities are in general, like we're saying, is this an album that you're going, okay, there's simplicity in some of the stuff here that is maybe a little, could we go in a little bit of a different direction at a time like this, when it's like we want to kind of see you in your full form. But then again, for kind of what this is just sexy songs and those R&B vibes and chill vibes and really trying to turn the party up, like he says in one of the tracks, and we'll get to that at some point. Like, he's really just leaning into that all the way. And, you know, again, the problem is, and not the problem with that, I guess, as well too, like, I feel like he might get criticized for that in some ways. Is like, are you taking it as serious as maybe you should? But then again, you look at like some of the tracks that Kendrick has on his album, and it's like he does have Luther on that album. You know, he is on 30 for 30 with SZA. Like, he is still trying to make R&B pop songs. You know, even he said himself, like, effing up a double entendre. Like, I want you guys to, you know, feel this. I want you guys to have a good time with the music. But he's still able to even drop in little nuggets. And I mean, you know, he's just such a good storyteller and such a good writer as well too, that, you know, his lyrical content is just gonna be in a different way. But again, for the what he's going for in this album, I think it works for the most part. And are there gonna be punchlines and catchphrases that maybe are too corny and you're like, okay, Drake, what are we doing here? Like, yeah, he's gonna have those moments, but I wouldn't necessarily criticize him as being like a poor lyricist, or, you know, has Drake lost his writing step or whatever? Because again, it's sexy songs for you. Now, is he using this as like a scape to not have to do that? You know, who knows? Does he need to have his own Mr. Morale and, you know, go to therapy and open up in those kind of ways? Pause. I don't know, chap, but I don't know if we need to psychoanalyze him in those ways either. But it didn't seem like he was really mentioning the beef directly in any of these early tracks. But in CN Tower, he did have a line where he said, "Thought they caught me slipping, had me dead to rights. Nothing ever happened, girl. They fed you lies." I guess I don't know if I actually wrote that down word for word right. But that's the gist of the bar, chat. I guess that's why Drake is even in the mix for these conversations, because we can't even write down his own lyrics right. And he's, you know, at least, you know, stealing the lyrics right. But I don't know if this is one that he stole or not, or wrote himself, or ghostwritten, or what was the backstory here, chat. But again, thought they caught me. He's kind of referencing relationship stuff here as well too, and this kind of made me did think as well. But in the reference to the relationship stuff, like those are kind of again things that happened in the beef. So I don't want to turn into a. There was a part of me that wanted to be like the full-on Kendrick fan and just go through the album and think everything is pointed at Kendrick, but. Again, thought they caught me slipping, had me dead to rights. Nothing ever happened. They fed you lies. And that was just a very specific thing to put it in a track where it's like, okay, I get, it easily could be a relationship thing as well, too, where people in the relationship or people, around your significant other are feeding them lies or maybe not building you up in the right way. Maybe you're not, earning it. Who knows? But, maybe they're not helping you out in the right way like that. I get that maybe that's the thing. But it's also like, hey, he was also talking about this and Heart Part 6 of obviously feeding lies to Kendrick and making up the story. And I didn't, it made me think, it was like, is there a way where this is a little Gloria-ish? And it's like, are there greater references to a relationship, but like to the beef and maybe to his relationship to the game, to with hip hop? I don't know if Drake is thinking three-dimensional chess like that. And I don't know if, Grab Your Bum and some songs like Nokia are a reference to that as well. But this was one where I was like, okay, maybe it's not. Maybe Drake is not playing 3D chess the way Kendrick maybe would be with some of these bars, chat. Or maybe the way, the Kendrick fans would get blamed for forcing meanings on some of these bars. But again, the feed lies things was interesting where it's like, okay, that's kind of a direct, very obvious thing that had happened recently. He also mentioned cancel Japan tonight, Tokyo down for the boy tonight. So he also, of course, referenced Japan and Tokyo in push-ups. And then that was the point where I was like, okay, I don't think you can start pointing everything in this album to Kendrick. Like, maybe the man just likes referencing, maybe the man is just a big fan of Japan. But also, why not book your tour in Japan, You're all here bragging about how big you are in Japan. Pause. Why is your tour in Australia? Maybe give the Aussies a shout-out in a song. Maybe do a better Drake probably could do a better Australian accent than us too. I don't know. The Australian accent Drake would be crazy, chat. But yeah, the man is like we're saying, committed to Tokyo. And again, like solid track. It was one of those tracks where when I first listened to it, I'm like, oh, is this a production I'm liking? Is this gonna be something? And I still haven't like done the full. I'm saving these songs in the playlist. There's a couple that of course we'll get to, and I think you guys all know what the heavy hitters are for these tracks. Seems like the community's pretty much in lockstep. That's one of the things where it's like, is this a good album? It's like, maybe, like, there's definitely the Drake side of things that are supportive of the album, but it does seem like the greater community is, like, very obvious on what the good tracks are. So, again, it's like, man, the rest of the tracks could all be equally as solid, or do these couple of tracks stand out for a reason? But Mothballs, again, this would be one where you're looking at it and you're like, okay, he's kind of messing around here. He's not taking it serious. These are just like some loose, silly, crazy bars. But then again, you have to look at Drake and go, that's kind of what we love Drake for. We love Drake for the fact that he is messing around and having fun and being goofy at certain times. Is there, there are going to be times where he's going to get serious and get lyrical, but the fun side of Drake is just a little bit more, again, goofy than maybe some of these other guys. And again, Kendrick is maybe so serious at times that his funny bars maybe just don't get brought up enough, or just don't maybe get recognized in the same way. But he's talking about how he's like gonna turn on his grandma if she's not on the same side as him and things like that. Like, I don't know, maybe Kendrick just gets a little more extreme in some of his humor. But and again, maybe it's Drake not actually like making a direct like full on joke, but just being, you're just like, Drake, what is this bar? Like in Mothballs, he has a bar where he says, stressing over Bills like I'm a Buffalo fan. It's like, okay, Drake, like, is this a bar? Do we need to bring back our classic segment, chat? Is this a bar? Because this is a peak entry for this. It's like, on one hand, I mean, this is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm stressing over Bills like I'm a Buffalo fan. On the other hand, I mean, we're all stressing over Bills right now like we're Buffalo fans, chat. We all relate to that very easily. It's like silly, but it, who else is saying that? It's one of those things. Because Drake is still, again, a top-notch guy, like, I just like if Dirk said this line, or if Savage said this line, would I be like, oh, Savage, like, come on, you got to step up your game. We can't be dropping lines like this. It's like, because it's Drake, do I like this? But it's like, hey, have we heard anybody else say I'm stressing over Bills like I'm a Buffalo fan? Probably, chat. Probably stole it from somebody. But either way, it was a good one. Good curation of the stealing of lyrics from Drake in this one. And also mentioned as well, too, I Need a Girl, that's on cover of Vogue. So Drake, if there's anything we know about Drake, he is consistent with the fact that he loves Vogue models, and specifically Vogue as well, too. I don't know, chat. Let us know. DM us at REMINGTOM on Instagram. What would be your magazine of choice if you were a rapper, chat? If you had to shout out a magazine in your lyrics, what are we shouting out, chat? Are we shouting out Vogue? I mean, of course, Vogue's iconic, but I feel like, like we're saying, Drake at this point, it's too many references to Vogue. It's kind of his thing. Playboy as well. Like, everybody's talking about Play. Like, that wouldn't be you. I feel like nobody would be able to make Playboy their thing. It's too big for that. But the Untapped, like, what about pause? Hey, yo, chat. Pause. But what about like SI? We see no SI swimsuit references in in these songs, chat. Is that what I'm thinking about with these bars? Is let's give some love to these SI swimsuit models in some of these rap songs, chat. But what about these hot athletes and these hot models and these hot Olympians, chat, that are in these SI suit models? We need these rappers talking about the real magazine covers, chat. I mean, what magazine covers even still matter? The fact the swimsuit one is a big of a deal as it is. Like, come on, what are we doing? Missed potential with some of these Drake lyrics. But Something About You as well, too, was a song where it was like, okay, this production, we're starting to pick it up a little bit. I feel like Something About You he was spamming that on the chorus, and there was a point there I was like, okay, I'm getting into this. This is a catchy little hook here, but then I do think that he drew out the hook on that song maybe just like a tad bit, chat. I think he says like 15 to 20 times just something about you. Do we need to play that one again? Of course, I've been spamming the 2 or 3 songs that have really stood out, which we will, like I said, we'll get to in a second. I don't know, is UMG going to be more or less likely to sue us if we're playing these Drake songs? It's like, do they want to make money off the Drake music? Maybe not. Let us play this music for free, UMG, so that way... Well, we don't want to start talking about hurting Drake's numbers and taking bread off a guy's table, but we just want to be able to stream this without copyright infringements. But again, we don't want to do that at the cost of the guy's pocketbook. Maybe a few dollars, chat? No. We're not greedy like that. We're not pocket watching like that. I mean, will we admit to pocket watching like that? I don't know. But do we just get to the hook? Something About You. Do we think Sam had time to listen to the new Drake album? Do you think he's making his lady listen to the new Drake album on the way wherever they're... I'm assuming there's a dinner reservation, and I'm sure there's a thing or two after that, an event that Sam's gonna... Sam's like a great plan a dinner, walk around a Bay Area type of evening guy. He's always got the perfect itinerary for these type of things, chat. So, he's got the evening laid out to a T. Laid out better than the track list on a Drake album, chat. You know it. But, I think we just talked all the way through the hook. Or is this it? IT, take that laugh out. That was too scary. Oh, here we go, chat. Something about you, something about you, something about you. So there's a couple times where, and like Kendrick said, Drake with the melodies. We like Drake with the melodies sometimes. And Drake crooning and Drake singing and all that stuff. Again, like we're saying, I don't know if we need to start bringing this album into the greater conversation of like, what is Drake capable from a rap thing? Does this prove the fact that, oh yeah, look he's not on Kendrick's level? Like, that battle was, its own thing. And again, their catalogs, we're still going to compare them in its own way, but It's like he's doing a different thing here. He's singing, he's crooning, he's something about you, something about you, something about you. But again, maybe a little edit button on the amount of times we're spamming that one on the chorus. And some of these, the first two as well too, kind of felt a little Drake centric. And him and Party are going back and forth. Party's definitely has his moments on both of these songs, and obviously Drake is taking the forefront, not just as the name, but as the lead performer and as the runtime guy and all that. Like he's at the forefront of this album for sure. But this was the first one where like the stage was really set for Party in this song, and you get Drake with, again, that kind of melody verse at the beginning, and then the hook and the something about you crooning, and we got this slow kind of melodic beat, and then it pivots a little bit and speeds up, and then we go right into a Party verse. So Party kind of off of this pivot from Drake, where again, maybe Drake is not going for bars in this verse, and maybe Party's not going for bars, but you have Party, I guess, set for this big explosive vocal crooning whatever performance. And again, Party is really, really solid on this album. But of course, again, shout out to the NFR pod and listening to their reaction to this album, their instant reaction to it. And as you would, of course, with a Drake collab album, as you would compare this one to Her Loss. And of course, you got to compare Party to 21 Savage as the Drake counterparts. Like, the thing about 21 Savage, and just about maybe like a guy partnering up with a collab album for a guy that's maybe just like on a different sort of level with that guy, is, again, throughout the album, it's like over the course of the album, Drake is going to win the album, not just from a runtime and lead man sort of status, but just from a performance status. Like, Drake is going to, at the end of the day, have better performances on the course of the album. But there are going to be verses, and there are going to be moments, and there are going to be songs where you're looking at it and you're like, okay, maybe 21 Savage is kind of the better player. I mean, it's kind of like a number 2 on a title team, where, I mean, Jaylen Brown and the Celtics. Jaylen Brown can literally win Finals MVP, but we can still kind of be like, Tatum is still the guy. And maybe this season, if Brown had just come out and dominated, it would have been not that he hasn't played really well this season. If it just had been maybe a step up in a different way, then maybe conversation would have been different. But if you build your team and you have your second best player, to have him at a level where it's like there are nights and there are moments and there are full stretches, there are full series, there are full playoff runs even, where this guy can step up and be the best player. Like, that is kind of what you need from a second best guy. And if you're going to have one of these albums, like, if you have a guy next to it where it's like, yeah, Drake is probably going to win this album and be the best performer on this album. But if there are moments where, like, is PND outdoing him? Is this verse harder? Pause. Is this vocal performance better? And not that he has his moments, but there's definitely, in fairness to him versus 21 Savage, like 21 Savage probably a little bit stronger of a counterpart performance. And again, Party, I and that would be the main thing, where it would be just, and I can't even say better is not the right word, because you got to be fair to Party. Like, shout out to you got to be fair. We don't want to start hurting the guy's feelings the day after it dropped, but again, there were some moments where 21, you're like, he might be the better guy on the album. And it does feel like for a lot of times Party is taking a back seat a little bit. And I don't feel like it's he's not up to par, he's not performing. It just feels like he's kind of like, yeah, man, this is Drake. This is Drake's album. And 21 Savage might be like actually that, that guy where there's like, is there that irrational confidence where he's in the booth and he's like, I am better than Drake, Like, I think I can lay down bars better than Drake. I get what Drake is doing. Like, of course, Drake shouts out 21 Savage in this album and mentions him as one of the only guys in the industry left at this point that still actually has his back. But are there moments where 21 is probably in the booth and going bar to bar with Drake, where he's like, am I the better rapper than Drake? Yeah, absolutely. 21 Savage probably believes about himself. And again, there are going to be moments where that manifests itself on the album. Like, he's, there are going to be moments where that he pops up and he actually is better than Drake. But I don't know if Party is looking at this like he's better than Drake. Like Kanye and Jay-Z, for example. Tough times to bring up Kanye, chat. Yikes. But, if we're talking about the all-time collab albums and like Watch the Thrones and that type of stuff, like Kanye knew where Jay-Z, he obviously had all the respect for Jay-Z. And, again, in the moment when they're making this album. And in the emotions that would have in this performance. Like he obviously had all the respect for what Jay-Z was as an all-time guy and for his career, but we're well aware of Kanye's irrational confidence, especially at this point, chat. But even as a rapper, we knew about it. And as much as Kanye would have been like, yeah, Jay is the guy, it doesn't mean that in this moment I can't go into the booth and outperform Jay. And you have moments on Watch Thrones where they're going back and forth and you're getting these ultra dynamic performances and you're like, these guys are elevating each other's game and outperforming each other constantly and really getting the best of both worlds. And I just don't know if Party is necessarily seeing that with Drake. I don't know if he's going to go in there and he's obviously not going to out rap Drake, like even Ty Dolla $ign and Kanye. Like Ty Dolla $ign might think he could probably out rap Kanye at this point. Most people probably could out rap Kanye. Do you even have to out rap Kanye, or you out rap an AI Kanye? Who knows, chat. But I mean, Ty Dolla $ign's going in there going, yeah, I can outdo Kanye in the booth. But I don't know if Party is walking in with that kind of confidence over Drake. And it's going to have those moments where it shows. It doesn't mean that Party's not going to have really good, solid performances and be really consistent and fun presence throughout this album. But, again, it does mean is just he going to have those moments where, and, not to get the, turn into like a crystals manifesting all that stuff. But if you're not thinking about being better than Drake, are you going to be better than Drake? And it also goes to that counterpart thing where you're pushing your guy, where now all of a sudden Jay is like, oh, Kanye, like Kanye's bringing it. Like I got to step up. This guy, other guy's bringing it. I got to step up. Like, is Drake looking at Party going, man, I got to really like outwork and outdo this guy? Maybe in the same way that, Savage is going to force Drake to level up their game. And that album was a Grammy winning album and like a really sleeper. That album gets revisited a lot. And that's another one. Again, I don't even know with all these albums. It's tough to rank even later career albums versus earlier career albums. Like GNX might even have that problem where, Kendrick's discography is as strong as all of them, and GNX is as strong of a sixth album as anybody has ever dropped, and you still look at it and go, yeah, but I remember when Good Kid, Mad City dropped, and I just loved it so much. And yeah, I remember when T-Pap dropped, and I loved it so much. And even the moments around, some of the other albums, it's like, it's going to be hard to climb up. And Section 80, it's like, how could you not love Section 80? Early Kendrick, young kid, we were all, if you know, and if you somehow knew back then and to what it turns out now, it's like you love that album even more because you're like, man, I was bumping these songs, and now all of a sudden this guy's doing the Super Bowl. I mean, we talked about that at the Super Bowl. It's like, all of a sudden ADHD, and now all of a sudden this guy's in the Super Bowl. It's like, that's kind of the first guy where that ever happened to our careers for, at least the guys in our age range. For people in our age range, for guys that we were following and watching their come-ups. Like, Kendrick is kind of the first guy. I guess Rihanna's come up as well, too. And, I guess some of Beyonce was, of course, she had the Destiny's Child and all that stuff when, we're in diapers and we're little kids, so we're not watching some of that stuff in the 90s, like, before we're even around. Like, she's already making the career and making waves and ascending, before we're even conscious and before we're even, like, real music fans in, consuming this type of stuff. But, again, there were some moments where I thought that maybe that this was set for Party to really have, like, some big special performances. I thought maybe Something About You was like, oh, this could be a special Party song. And it still fits, R&B, it's strong. I don't think you could call, it's tough. Like, there might be a couple, like, actual, like, skips on here, depending on how you're feeling on the day, chat. But I don't know if you're in the mood for some sexy songs for you, chat. Like, Something About You is not a skip, even if you're like, oh, yeah, it's Party bringing us, like, a 10 out of 10 on this song, and it's Drake bringing us out a 10 out of 10. But we then get to Crying in Chanel, chat, the first Drake solo song, the first solo Drake, and a song that was previewed with one of the snippets as well, too. And unlike I don't know why in my mind I was comparing this snippet specifically to the Tyler snippet, but when Tyler dropped the Chromacopia first snippet, and that snippet was like an intro track, this obviously is not the intro track, and I don't even think, was that the first snippet drop? Maybe that's why I'm trying to compare it. Maybe I should have said that at the top. I didn't really listen to much of the snippets or anything that had gotten previewed because again, like I said, I was nervous. I was like, is Drake gonna bring it on this album? Pause. But I didn't want to spoil it either, going blind. Let's just first listen, get those instant reactions, that first time in the car driving to the gym, a couple of little shoulder band warm-ups. Now all of a sudden we're into, mothballs. And then I guess, we're in the gym. We're probably in Crying in Chanel at this point, kind of, because it's winter right now, slower drive. You're putting around town, icy roads, some snow on the ground. But it takes a couple more songs to get to the gym than usual. Although the roads are still, not super busy in the morning. You can get around pretty quick. But anyways, chat, early morning city travel breakdown corner. But the Tyler snippet was when that dropped, and then when the full song dropped, the snippet was the intro to the song, and then the rest of the song, of course, followed the snippet. For this one, the snippet was the end of the song. And when I first listened to the song again, I was kind of like, is this hitting the same way? I don't know how this all works, but the build-up, it got there for me. I like it. It works. I don't know. We'll get into some of the Drake other performances. I don't think this is the weakest of the Drake performances by any means, if we were ranking them, the solo ones anyways. But I don't know if this one would have been the same as like a quality wise either, as like a like something off of 100 gigs as well too, as like a circadian rhythm, It's Up, I don't know if this was as strong as any of those tracks. So the fact that it was like, okay, this is the first time we get to see Drake on the album alone, crying in Chanel, crying. It's like, are we going to get some lyrics about the beef, and are we going to get some, some references to Kendrick, and are we going to get all this pouring out feelings, and Drake, he's crying in Chanel, he's in his feels about the beef, but it didn't really seem to mention any of that up until this point, and doesn't really either quite lean into a rap song. I feel like once we get to Spider-Man, Superman, or no, really honestly, like once we get to like Small Town Fame, that next solo Drake song is when we maybe start to take a little bit of a turn in that way. Like he's still kind of R&B, still kind of melodic here, so not ready apparently to address the beef yet. 7 Stages of Grief, this is just like letting the tears out, I guess, crying in Chanel. Maybe not necessarily Drake, but again, maybe it's a metaphor, chat. But there was a couple parts in this song where, we're going to have to play it, chat, where he does like this like voice inflection on, he's like, replay, yeah, yeah, and he hits it again with, chat, Rem with the melodies is a work in progress. Save it just for Drake. But he hits a couple of these like voice inflection, hold out the note, say the word, crooning things. Like, oh, okay, there it is again, Drake with the melodies. It's right there. It's right there. I don't know. Did Kendrick just turn Drake into an R&B star, chat? Is that what just happened? Maybe it did. But this were a couple of those moments where, like, again, I don't care what people are saying about Drake not being he's not a rapper. He's not all this stuff. Like, Drake is just he's got the versatility. He's a different kind of skill set. Is Drake going to be like the Paul George of rap, chat? Is Drake going to start complaining about dropping podcast clips instead of dropping music? I don't know. But maybe he's the guy where he's like, I know we compared him to Wilt Chamberlain. We compare Drake to a new basketball player every episode, chat. But he's like the guy that has the game of a great player, but maybe you still look at the numbers and the actual, like, what it is, and it's like, it's still not quite all-time. And that's tough. It's, again, you look at Drake's catalog and go, there's still some all-time great moments in here. Is this it? I should have been replaying this. Maybe we shouldn't have, chat, but just to familiarize ourselves with some of these other ones. Oh, there it is. Replay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a Bobby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like, there we go, chat. That's some passionate Drake, that pause. You love to see. That definitely gets you inspired on this Vday. That's for sure. So we're still kind of, again, in still the dark R&B synthy type vibes. Some it's nighttime vibes and sexy songs for you. I don't know if anybody is playing this album in Valentine's Day. Again, like we were saying, we were checking it out at the gym this morning, some sexy songs at the gym. But yeah, I think we know when he intends this one to be listened to. But I feel like we start to get a little bit of a shift in the production in Spider-Man, Superman. It's not, I feel like maybe the synths in this one aren't quite or not the synths, but maybe like the drums and just the whole bass boosted vibe of some of the other songs. Not quite as heavy in this song. But this is the first song that, and I don't want to say the first one in like a critical way, but again, just on that initial sort of more hesitant replay, because it's also your mindset going in. Like we're saying, the Kendrick album GNX, not to even, start to compare these with the quality in the moment, but just, to compare the mindsets going in, like you're just so inspired for that. Again, as a guy that's, maybe leaning more to the Kendrick side of the beef, but you're just inspired, you're excited, you're anticipating, you just are almost predetermined that the album is going to be good. Not that, we've talked ourselves into it by any means. The album has proven itself to be quality. And it's like those tracks like Luther and TV Off and Peekaboo and the songs that he was doing at this.
And all these songs are Reincarnated, Man at the Garden. All these songs are hit. Hard Part 6. I mean, I'm naming the whole album, chat. Like, all these songs are proven to be hits and heavy replay value. And I'm just saying the optimism going into that album was a lot higher, where when you're skeptical, that's what I'm saying, it took that second replay to maybe kind of relax a little bit and like, okay, we can actually maybe appreciate this a little bit more for what he's going for with some of the vibe stuff. But I kind of liked this song a little bit, where I was like, okay, I could maybe see myself start to throw in some of this stuff into the playlist. Like this was the one where I settled in kind of the first time, started to relax on this R&B album and just enjoy the ride with Drake and Party. I was settled in at this point. I was like, okay, we know what it is, we know what we're getting, and I was like, this is not bad. I get, Spider-Man, Superman. Drake's not necessarily going for the person that lived 3 lives and got reincarnated in 3 different iterations, and is like now all of a sudden living as Kendrick Lamar, the pop star, and was the 6 other versions of like world leaders in the history past. No, it's like Drake is out there, his girl's out there, mistaking him for Spider-Man, Superman. But is the song equally as catchy? Is the song the song probably won't get replayed as much as Reincarnated, to be honest. But again, I don't think there's a catchiness factor here, and there's a replay quality here that we're starting to pick up on this first half of the album. That's like, just because the lyrical content is lacking a certain depth, I'm not gonna start knocking massive points off of this album for what it is. Again, if we start stacking it up against other things, the all-time conversation, there becomes areas where you do start to nitpick certain things. But just for the general quality of the album, Spider-Man, Superman, I love superheroes. Who doesn't love Spider-Man? Which version of the Spider-Man, though? Did Drake say? Does he shout out? Do we have to go back to the lyrics? Does he say Maguire? Does he say Garfield? Is there a Holland reference? There better not be a Holland. Shout out Tom Holland. It's nothing against Tom Holland Spider-Man. It's not like that. It's just, unfortunately, the Tom Holland Spider-Man dropped when we were already, a little bit older, kind of, at least for the falling into characters in that type of way, where, you grow up with the Maguire's Spider-Man and then the Garfield Spider-Man. Actually, the Garfield Spider-Man was the first Spider-Man that we ever saw. So I guess for us, technically, it would be the Garfield Spider-Man first, and then the Maguire Spider-Man. But you have those 2 Spider-Mans early on in your life, and it's just those are the ones that you get you get older with. So by the time the Holland one hits, it's like we had already had the memories as a youth with, of course, Garfield and Maguire and the other moments. So it's just a timing thing for Holland for us. It's not a personal him in the role thing. That's what. But just to show love to our bias for the Spider-Mans and for the Supermans. But you know who the Superman is. We all know it's Henry Cavill. No way! Hey, the old timers just rioted and left the stream. It's Christopher Reeves. Is it Christopher Reeves? Shout out. We haven't watched the old Superman in a long time, chat. A long time. And shout out the old Superman show as well, too. The Superman show gets forgotten a little bit. Of course, you talking about superhero movies just in general is a little bit of a different conversation. So the Superman movie being brought up in that definitely definitely easier for that. But I'm just saying, like, if we were making the Superman conversation, don't underestimate the Superman from the TV show. I don't know if the Superman from the TV show is a better character than the Adam West Batman. Like the Adam West Batman is an iconic character, and he's a really good Batman as well too. Like Batman being just that silly is great. Like he makes it so well, and just maybe the fact that Batman has been memed to death so much, it's the fact that there is a goofy version of the Batman being displayed in all these versions, like it makes a ton of sense. Like I have no problem going from Batman being like totally made fun of and not taken seriously and goofy to like now we're in a serious Batman movie. No, Batman's actually the hero and he's saving the day. Like I can get behind both storylines, no problem. But the Superman thing was still going for like it's a lighter show. It's still going for comedy. But the Batman show was it was a full on like silly show. It's got the graphics. It's got the crazy, colorful characters, and they did have the advantage too of being in color. Were all of those seasons in color? Where I think that early Superman show was in black and white, so we wouldn't necessarily have had that advantage. But you have these loud characters, and you have just dumb lines, literally Drake punchlines of people. I'm pretty sure Robin literally said at one point that, "Gee, Batman, we're stressing over bills like we're Buffalo fans." I'm pretty sure that pause. The Dick Grayson Robin said that at some point in the show, but again, they were going for full-on comedy. But the Christopher Reeves was still kind of towing the line of like, this is funny. There's some action here. There's some just like a primetime half-hour fun superhero show. Whereas like Incredible Hulk with I forget who's that guy. Is it Eric Bana? Is that the Hulk chat? And then there's the Hulk, and then the guy that played. Or no, is it Eric? Because he's not Bruce Banner in the show. I think he's David Banner in the show. So the actor that played David Banner, I don't remember his actor name, but I think. Oh no, maybe he was. I don't remember who Eric Bana was at all. So maybe that's just a made up name. Lou Ferrigno was the Hulk when he was actually in Hulk form, the bodybuilder guy. But the David Banner character, I don't remember his name. But that was like really dramatic and like full on.
Every episode, David Banner just leaving with his head down and having his heart broken by some chick. But Superman kind of towed the line. But either way, chat, why are we talking about Christopher Reeves and Drake? I forget. But yeah, Christopher Reeves, shout out. He did a really incredible Superman. Oh yeah, because we were talking about Superman and Spider-Man, of course. One of the first tracks that was starting to sell me on like, okay, this is a solid project here. We're in for something. But let's take a quick break because this album is starting to heat up, chat. We're getting into some of the stronger tracks in the album approaching. The celebrity game is at halftime or around halftime. I don't know. Team Bond is starting to pull away. So I don't know if the second half was the first half worth watching. I don't even know if the second half is going to be worth watching. Still more competitive than the Super Bowl, though. Mic drop. We'll be back after that.
Okay, chat, we're back. Quick celebrity game update. I was way off. It's not at halftime. Shows you how much I've been paying attention. It is got like a minute and a half left in the fourth quarter. Unless they do like a running clock and they pause. That's not pause, but yeah, let her off. And they do the running clock in this, and they really speed this up. They're not trying to run out the celebrity game. Even though you want it to be worth people's tickets, it's still going to be pause too long, regardless of how long they're out there for. They said T.O. has 13 points on 16 shots. Just got a windmill dunk from one of the athletes that was hurdling earlier. So Team Bond right now is up by 16 over Team Rice with again like a minute 15. T.O. in the corner. Oh, make that 13 points on 17 shots. That was a miss. That was an air ball. T.O. take it. Keep going to the basket. But should we pick back up on the Drake album, or should we say party, because this next one is a party song, the first solo party song on the album. We get to deeper chat. Pause. Hey yo, party. Make no mistake, he's not beating around the bush. Chat. Pause. He is very direct. He's laying it all out there. I mean, if his last album cover wasn't enough, he makes sure that this song is right on the nose, chat. It says everything he wants to say. But unfortunately for Party Next Door, he is not beefing with Kendrick Lamar, so skip! No, chat. You gotta listen to it. He's, like we're saying, maybe he's not winning finals MVP as the sidekick in this album, but this is a solid performance. This is regular season game. Maybe the team that you're going up against is like a mid-tier playoff team to play in ish type team. This is like, going out and getting the win as the number two and having a 30-point game against like Atlanta in the regular season. Or Indiana's like the 4 seed now, but like Milwaukee now without Giannis. Like, yeah, Milwaukee with Dame Lillard and Bobby Portis and Kyle Kuzma going out and getting a win there. You're like, yeah, you know what? Good game, good performance. Oh man, full court shot up the inbound, running clock. Game is over. I'm such an idiot, chat. I should have switched the TV over during the break. The writing starts again about to start, but we'll switch over in a few minutes. It's fine. It's not gonna start up for a bit, anyways. We gotta do MVP. We gotta give out celebrity game hardware, chat. So it's not time to change the channel yet. We gotta tune into the celebrity game longer than we're tuning into some of these P&D songs, chat. But shout out. But then we get to small town fame, chat. And like I said earlier, this would be like the first actual like rap song on this album. And honestly, did we need rap songs on this album? I mean, obviously, of course we did for our own sake and for the fact that Drake at the end, he is supposed to be a rapper, of course, and him getting back into these roots would be what you'd want to see. But he does pivot away from the R&B, from some of the crooning. For the boys, chat, he's making some music for the ladies early on. Once you get your lady, you gotta always take care of the lady first, chat. Drake, he's ladies first. Get the R&B and some of that soft stuff out of the way. Pause, and then some bars for the boys, chat. Small town fame. We get a little bit more soulful production. Is that the right word? We're getting some vocals here. We're still, there's a certain sound that he is curating in. He's curating two sounds right now. Two sounds now, right? Kind of where he's got this again, kind of OVO traditional. I guess we just kind of call it the Canadian sort of R&B sound they go for. But again, you kind of hear some of this stuff on production sound on like some of the 100 gigs production. I think like again, all these tracks I think could fit right into this track list just sonically, and it would make a ton of sense. It's up. I think you can put it in here. It'd be again maybe a change of pace a little bit, but I think that'd be fine. Canadian rhythm would. I mean, that would fit right in this cause, and I feel like that was, in my opinion, the best track that he dropped out of that pack anyway. So if we were just taking the quality one, the highest quality one, and slipping that into the track list, I feel like sonically it would make sense. But again, he's given us something here with that small town fame. But even with the rapping production in this, it is like you see him on For All the Dogs, and then on that Fighting Irish freestyle, he's using some of those Conductor Williams beats. and his best rapping performances on For All the Dogs, I thought, and a lot of the songs that I've been going back to, again for Drake, but maybe even more so for the Conductor Williams production on some of those tracks. We got 8 a.m. in Charlotte. You got Stories About My Brother. You know, first person shooter mode. I don't know how much we're going back to that song at the moment, but some of the other more soulfully produced tracks on that album. But then you also do get a song like the 769 6969 whatever it was, Santa Chat, whatever that track was called. Like that production, I feel like leans a little bit more into this "sexy songs for you" style, and I really enjoy that track as well too. I kind of sneaky when I go back to the album. That's one that I kind of go back to a lot. But yeah, he does also have that, like we're saying, with that fighting Irish freestyle that drop too. Is like, will he? When he's doing that solo album, because that's the other thing too. We got that 2025 potential. I guess maybe not 2025, but we got whatever that next Drake solo album is in the works. Because he was saying that in one of those concerts, he was going to be ready to have a chat, one on one when the time is ready, and assuming that means that a solo album is in the works, and I'm assuming it's going to be, a diverse Sonic project. But for some of those rapping performances that we may actually get, where is he going to lean in the production for those? And again, for the small town fame, it works for the vibe of this track list. But I really like it as well too, and definitely ramping up in the performances. I don't know if he laid that out on purpose, or again, if it was just kind of the sonic progression of what they were going for. But this definitely better than uh, the Crying in Chanel track earlier, at least for me. Like him dropping some bars on this versus maybe some of the a little bit more crude that he's doing. And he does try to give us a little bit of something on Crying in Chanel, but I kind of like the direction that he's going for more in Small Town Fame. But then again, like we're saying, it's not. This could be an R&B album. He could do all singing on this album, and it would be maybe still a great album. And how would it be perceived from the rapping side of things? I get it, but again, it is where it is for the sound for the Valentine's Day project. And that is it. Pimmy's Dilemma. I don't know. Shout out to Pim. I'm not familiar with Pim's work, chat. Should we look up Pim as an artist real quick? Let me see. 31.2K monthly listeners. Okay, so I don't think I'm behind the times. So shout out to Drake putting this on to Pim, the old bittersweet EP from this year, or from this past year, 2024, February 2024, and then a new single called One Deep, Pause, and then a couple more tracks October 2024. But this Pim's Dilemma, which is more of an interlude, is maybe like just the most beautifully produced track on the album. Again, maybe there's another track on here that has better overall production that we're about to get into, but just in terms of like that luscious sort of really I guess like you said, Chad, just really beautiful vibes. This one definitely crushed for that. The vocals from Pim, Pimmy, is Pim short for Pimmy? Chat? Are we doing the math? I think it adds up. But her vocals on this they crush as well too, and it's a nice interlude. He doesn't really go for a ton of interludes on this album, and I'm trying to think of how he's really used those over the course of not over the course of his career, but as of late, because those are something that again I feel like in some of those earlier albums he was definitely sprinkling those in, and those were maybe trendier too at one point as well. But yeah, I mean you get at least two with the burial. I mean Buried Alive is kind of a track, and then cameras and good ones go interlude on Take Care. But I'm trying to think, like, what did he have on four? Did he have one? I think he did. Oh, he had Screw the World interlude. But that was a solo Drake track. And the BBL Love interlude on For All the Dogs as well, too. Another solo Drake. So maybe I don't remember the solo interludes on the other ones because they're forgettable, Jack, but he did have them sprinkled in there as well on some of his other albums. So I guess, in other words, best interlude that Drake has had as of late. But definitely crushed that chat. So maybe I'll throw this one in the playlist as well, just because again it's great vibes. If this one just randomly popped in the shuffle, just oh here's a break, Penny's Dilemma, be a fun little listen. But then we get the Brian Steele track, where again we move now into kind of a full on like solo stretch for the Drake album. And again, I do think like we were saying with the party side of the collab, like you could leave it and go, yeah, man, like obviously Drake is the guy we're wanting to see. You know, again, no disrespect to party, but it's like Drake is the guy that we're wanting to see off this album. And if Party outperforms him a couple times, I don't think that we would even be against that. Or even if Party has a better album, like I don't, and they're both awesome. The Party's really awesome. I don't know if that's even a bad thing. But like as long as Drake is awesome in a way, I think that that's fine. But the fact that this album, like, still the best parts of this album are still Drake. It's like, okay, yeah, he still is in the mix above maybe the next class of guys, whatever that is. And the highlights and the big moments and the tracks that are going to be replayed the most, the biggest hit track is going to be a solo hit, a solo Drake track. And maybe that's just the way it was going to be regardless. But, again, that's just the way it worked out. And the strongest section of the album, in my opinion, is when we start to hit some of these Drake solo tracks. And that's, again, no disrespect to Party. That's not a once Party leaves the scene, the album gets better. The album just pivots into a different thing. We get a couple of Drake rapping performances. He's, starting to get some stuff off his chest in some of these tracks as well too. And kind of now we're starting to get into the range where he's addressing the beast. So it's a little bit of a different section of the album. And I guess it just for what I want as a hip hop fan, at least for me personally, like this would just cater more to that. So even Drake again, while this album still maybe has more vision, like you were saying, some of the other albums, he still is giving performances in some diversity here throughout, even though it is leaning heavily on some of the R&B stuff in Drake with the melodies. He's going into that rapping bag, and it really hits, and it's the best parts of the album. And he becomes the first guy as well too, I think, to name a song after Brian Steele, the first rapper to shout out Brian Steele. Not shout out Brian Steele in the word, but title something after Brian Steele. I don't know. Did he steal this? I just assume everything that Drake did in this album is AI, not AI, but just he ripped it off of SoundCloud from some guy. Are we giving Drake the benefit of the doubt anymore, chat? It's a yikes. But as far as I know, he's the first guy to title it. So I assume we'll see like a EP or something that'll be Brian Steele, or it'll be like Brian Steele, STAL. I don't know, Chef. Somebody will do like a play on words. Brian Steele, the trial. I don't know how they'll work it all in there, but maybe this is another thing that Drake got to first. Or, Chad, this is a strategic move where is Brian Steele the only guy that is out there that can take down UMG? Is Brian Steele the only lawyer capable? Or we need to get Brian Steele and the Johnny Depp lawyer teamed up with Drake to take down UMG. I think that's really his only case at this point. What's that chick's name? That would be like a dynamic duo. That might honestly get like a little sketch. The three of them hanging out. Chat and Drake and LeBron's off the table. We need to do funny chat. Yikes. Hey yo. Hey yo. We are going nuts now, chat. But yeah, I don't know if he's trying to get Brian Steele on the case or what's going on. But either way, shouts out our guy Brian Steele in his song. Deservedly so. I mean, you get our guy Clever off and then pause. Whoa, hey yo, chat. That's a pause. That is crazy. I don't know if Brian Steele was doing that much work as a lawyer, but he was definitely helping our guy out regardless. So speaking of pause, also this lyric, another one. Is this a bar? Is this the biggest pause on the album? He starts off this song with, "I feel things, baby, but lately I'm feeling things deeper inside." Hey, yo, Drake, what are we doing, brother? What are we doing? But again, and speaking of addressing the beef, I don't know if he was like full on. Maybe this was in address to those feelings as well too, chat. We need to, I guess, for a couple of these tracks, we could pull up the Genius and go through them just to double check what he's saying here. But he does also say on this track as well too. He says, "I took some polka dot girl. Now I'm seeing some designs. So polka dot, obviously, in reference to shrooms. So if we are, stretching this out a little bit, chat, and let's see if this got Genius annotated at all for this. It just talks about how polka dots is a double entendre for shrooms. But yeah, psychedelics known for making users feel more loving and passionate. People using them often feel that their trips let them discover deeper meanings in the world around them. Drake's trip could have helped him discover that he's meant to be with this girl. So that's all forward from Genius. But this could also be maybe a little reference to Kendrick as well too, because another thing Kendrick did say in one of the songs was Drake being willing to like take ayahuasca and strip it from the bottom and look at his ego. So Drake is taking this and maybe his ego's doing the opposite thing, chap. But he is, at least he's dipping his toe into the psychedelics. Is this the first step for Drake taking the ayahuasca and stripping it from the bottom, chat? For doing what Kendrick says, for the rebuild in progress. At least there's hope on this track with Brian Steele. Big Page reaching down, freed up slime. Broski just hit me. Yeah, here we go. We got him addressing the beat. Yeah, on the next couple of lines. So that's another reason why I was thinking that maybe this could be, again, in reference to that, like the lies thing, just because it's kind of a specific thing to throw in there. It's like he mentions the psychedelics right before mentioning the beef as well too. So I don't know if it's kind of a sneaky reference to that, but put all the beef aside. I can't. Now I'm heated. Yeah. Yeah. Do we do the Pat McAfee chat? The naysayers. I don't even know if we dabble in and get close like that chat. The Reese Davis. I think it makes everybody panic every time. But people want to meet up, talk about it. Now I'm vegan now. Drake, the double entendre, the double contradictra chat. Put all the beef aside, he can't, but he's vegan. Chat, it's not making sense. Drake probably not actually vegan, would be my guess. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't be around beef at all. But a little bit of a tough. Again, this would be a bar like I get some of the other bars where you're having fun, like have fun. Maybe some of the bars where you're addressing the beef, like if it's gonna lead in that direction, like you probably want those to be like your finest punchlines and your hardest hitting double entendre metaphor, whatever you're gonna put in the song. Like you kind of want any beef related stuff to be the best of the best for what you're bringing. And if it's gonna be funny and it's gonna be jokey, then it needs to be the best of the best for the jokes. But I don't know if you're gonna say I can't put all the beef aside. I don't know if they want to talk about it. I'm vegan now is like the best A+ punchline to be responding with Kendrick at, but or sneak this, whatever, sneak mention, whatever. What does it say for I'm vegan now? For real, chat. For real. Just in case you didn't. Drake's relationship with veganism gained public attention when he famously sent YouTube music critic Anthony Fantano an Instagram DM containing a vegan cooking recipe in 2022. The recipe now seems to fully. The rapper, not the recipe, the rapper now seems to fully embrace a vegan lifestyle. Oh, for good. Whoa! Drake is actually vegan? Drake? No meat? Pause? Hey, yo, chat. Hey, yo. I'm not going to make certain statements about what we eat, chat, because that would be crazy. But I just didn't know what Drake was doing there. That's crazy. Drake living that style of lifestyle. Does that explain why Drake lost the rap beat, chat? He's being powered off that kale? Get this man a steak! Get this man a couple of porterhouses, or maybe he'll cook up a couple better bars, chat. I don't know if there's a correlation there. But do we need to check? Is Kendrick on that carnivore diet? But evil eyes were staring at me. Now I see it. Yeah, shout to Brian Steele. Take off the cuffs. We leave it now. Hey, what? It's the problem with reading the Genius lyrics the day after it drops. Is like I don't quite know the cadences of all the songs yet, so it's like reading them is I'm literally just reading it. So however it just reads as a poem, I guess, is just how it's gonna read. But he was also was there another mention? I felt like there was another kind of sneak mention as well too. He says, uh, "You just hit me up like what you doing, YMD, WYD chat, WYD, same old it girl. You know what's up with me." Beefing with the boys that we don't ever see. I'm out every night and they not in the streets. So I was a little curious about what he could potentially be referencing there specifically. I mean, just beef in general, but beefing with the boys that we don't ever see. That could be online beef with people. If we just want to be real simplistic with it. But he said the fact that he says out, I'm out every night and they not in the streets. So again, maybe just directly referencing like Twitter beefing people, whatever. But I don't know if he's talking to you know, some greater like is the people that Kendrick moving with, are they not in the streets for real? Is Drake trying to say that he's like in the streets in a different kind of way than maybe these people are? It's just like I don't again, just it being so close with some of these beef lyrics, I just don't know what he's addressing and what he's not. Chad. It's just like, is it? Is it not? I don't know yet. We're less than 24 hours out. I don't want to just make it where everything is that, but it's just gonna be like wait and see. Will it be confirmed? Will it not on Genius? She got Party 4 stuck on repeat. I got plaques like I ain't been brushing my teeth. Is it a bar, chat? Is it a bar? I got plaques like I ain't brushing my teeth. I mean, do you? I mean, you may not be brushing your teeth, but you got the plaques to show for it the way Drake does, chat? I don't know. Pee so good that I should be inside, but I gotta step out with my guys, chat. Drake apparently was getting it so good that he almost didn't beef with Kendrick, but he was like, "Yeah, we gotta go drop Family Matters anyways. Gotta go cook up the hard part 6." Maybe Drake, maybe should have stayed with his girls. The one time, bros before, she had the one time it didn't actually work out. Not that, of course, Kendrick and Drake were bros in that way, but bros in a little bit of a different way as well too, Chad. But moving into the next song. Actually, Chad, do we just need to pivot to one more break? I messed up, Chad. I timed it bad. It is what it is. I just gotta switch the game real quick. This will be short. Just let me get the rising. I gotta get the Rising Stars game on. So shout out to Mitchell, Middleicky and Coyle. We got We got a boxing match here. Top ranked middleweights going at it. So I mean, it's fun. Shout out, but if it was the only thing on, of course we'd be watching it. Shout out Coyle and Middleicky Jr. I think that's his name, Chad. I mean, he'd be prime time if the Rising Star game was on. But since the Rising Star game is on, we do need to do our due diligence. And I think Steph Castle will play nice. So it is what it is. We just game. chat, we are just in time because Steph Castle's up first, and he's on a team with Zach Edey, Keontae George, Jalen Wells. Yeah, Zach Edey's on this team. Yeah, Edey's on this team. Who's the other guy? Oh, Dalton Connect. So Wells, Connect, Castle, and Edey is a fun four. Like those guys, I think actually work really well together. There's a lot of complementary parts there, and like Edey and Wells aren't going to need to take shots. Castle is not going to need to take shots the way Connect does, and Castle can do the things that Connect's not going to do defensively and hustle wise, but also complement him offensively. But Keontae George may be a little bit of a wrench in this thing. If Keontae George gets in a little bit ball hoggy mode, we'll see. But he can be a playmaker, can distribute. So they run a set for Connect right away, and he buries the triple, 3-0. So they're playing to a target score of 40. Okay. Grady Dick on the opposing team. Hey, yo, chat. This will be a fun night. Fun night for Dick. Pause. Hey, yo! Valentine's Day, though, so what do you do? But the reason we had to switch the game now is so we couldn't have any eruptions. It's time to get into the heavy hitter of the track list, chat. Give me a hug, Drake. The beef, chat. It's Valentine's Day. He's been through a lot. The man just needs a friend. He needs somebody to give him a hug. He needs a hug from 21 Savage, apparently. The man just needs a buddy on Valentine's Day to let him know that everything's okay during the beef. But again, like we said, as some of these other tracks have gone a little more in a different direction with some of their production and have set the table for him in a way to have a little bit more of a rapping performance. Gimme Hug is the best production on this album. I mean, easily to me. I mean, look at the Genius Chat. I mean, now we're going. Drake's cooking here in these verses. Oh, we got the whole thing filled. Pause. All the way. I think some of the verse 3 stuff is still being. People are still working on it this morning, but the community is rally chat. And now they've gotten all the notes highlighted in for this song. But triumphant, soulful, still doesn't take you out of what you are as this track list. Because, like I said, I think the work that some of the tracks before this have done have at least shifted the vibe in the right way. And now he's addressing the beef. Now the feelings are out, Chad. I mean, yeah, Drake, elimination, fake intimidation. Take a minute, take a breath, have a bit of patience. I mean, right away, we're coming out swinging. We are not holding anything back. Verse 1, Chad. And, immediately, of course, Drake always gonna, take a different approach from Kendrick. I think Kendrick is even with a song like at Man at the Garden, where he is ultimately arriving to the conclusion where he should be on top of the game, he's at least, felt like he's not that Drake has not felt like he's put in the work, but like the course of the track is him reconciling these feelings, and there's just always been a big conversation with Kendrick, like getting that spot and just being on top. But for Drake, he's like, hey, Drizzy, you amazing. You the inspiration. You set the bar for the next generation. And in some ways, like we're saying, it's like, oh, Drake blazing himself, simple lines, it is what it is. But again, this is the conversation that we have been having around Drake for the last 10 years up until Kendrick came into the picture. And I think even, is it a little like the Davis Luka trade now with Kendrick and Drake, where in the moment we were like, hey man, we can't forget how good of a player that Anthony Davis is. Like, there's definite things here with him and Doncic that make this trade what it is. But Davis is still a top 12 player in the league, and you saw those minutes that he played were the ones that he didn't really have. Unfortunately, he got hurt. It is now all of their centers are hurt, so who knows if it's just something going on in Dallas. Maybe we can't blame Davis, but unfortunately, Davis's history as a player, I think he's going to get blamed. But we saw the impact of the minutes he had on the court when he was out there. He was fantastic and immediately showed what he could elevate that team to. And with Drake, it's like, okay, I mean, it's to the point where, yeah, it's like the conversation is him and Kendrick. But even if Kendrick has passed him on your list and all this stuff, it's still, and I guess, for Kendrick, people like guys that are, on the Kendrick side of things and were, so pro Kendrick and this beef and all that stuff, whatever. It's like maybe at the end of the day, we're still looking at this list as like that's the guy that's the only guy that Drake has to pass, and or maybe Mahomes Brady is the more comparable comp, like we were saying. I think we mentioned that earlier as well too. Where again, it's like Mahomes, the legacy thing from the Super Bowl for me was it's great that he's at this point 8 years in where Brady is the only guy kind of standing in his way. Brady and Montana, just two or three quarterbacks left to conquer less than a decade into his career. And obviously, Drake's kind of on the, quote unquote, other side of his career. He's not on the come up or those early peak prime days the way that Mahomes is right now. But just that reminder that, oh, yeah, it is just Kendrick, in a way, and Cole, as well, too. And and not to just disrespect the rest of it, Tyler and Travis Scott, like, you start making the list. It's like the list gets big, but like we're saying, it's still that top tier of guys that we're in the conversation with. We're not talking about him as washed. We're not talking about him as past his prime. And again, I get that as an album builder, there are certain things here where you go, is this another album that is not a top tier Drake album and competing with some of those peak albums? Like I get that as well too, but when Drake is in that rapping bag and we're seeing Drake in not an old school Drake rapping performance, but for now in like the context of today, like just that standard Drake is giving us bars and doing it over top tier production. Like he is still amongst the best in the game. And I think if you looked at what Tyler is doing lyrically and you looked at what Jid is doing lyrically, maybe their best compared to Give Me a Hug, if this is Drake's current best form. Maybe their current best forms are better than Drake. But again, it's still maybe like LeBron now in that phase where LeBron is like, he's not LeBron, but he's still a top 15 guy. He's still an all NBA guy. He's still a guy that is going to impact a playoff series and a guy you want on your team if you're trying to win a title. Like, maybe there are younger guys, more peak athletic guys, hungrier guys, whatever it is. Like, different things. And again, like the fact that Kendrick has been able to maintain this hunger is, been, just a crazy thing to look at this late in his career. But he's also been operating from a phase where Drake has been the number one guy, and Drake, vice versa, has been operating from that phase where he is the number one guy. So this is kind of that rapping performance where you see him now, again, taking a step back to Kendrick, but what kind of hunger do we see from him in these tracks? And again, to go back to the start of the track, it's like he's still putting himself at the top of at the top of that conversation. But even you still see in that track, he doesn't actually say, you're the best right now. He goes, Drizzy, you amazing, you the inspiration. You set the bar for the next generation. And I guess that is the way of, saying that Drizzy is, of course, still at the top. But again, it's that you set the bar for the next generation. It's an acknowledgement of the next generation in a way. What does it say on Genius? Should we just read? This bar, quoting Genius, these bars, sorry, let me start over. Quoting Genius, these bars reflect a moment of self reassurance. Drake starts by telling himself to pause, breathe, and be patient. Pause! Which can be interpreted as a way to ground himself amid his rocky position as of late. This sentiment is then reinforced as he acknowledges the praise he receives, recognizing his own impact on the rap game. Drake is hailed as one of the most decorated and best-selling artists in music history. Beyond his commercial success, his influence on hip-hop and pop culture is undeniable. Many up-and-coming artists cite their influence, uh, cite him as their inspiration, seeing him as the benchmark for success. You Neo in the Matrix. These guys just Nemo in the ocean. Small fish making kids feel emotion, Chad. Always a little tough right now. Drake mentioning kids in his bars. Do we maybe take this one to the editor and go, can we find a little? But, you know, we understand too kind of what these audiences are, for hip hop maybe specifically, but hip hop, it's not like adults aren't into hip hop. There are certain adults that are into hip hop. We were seeing the clips from the halftime show. for streaming specifically as well. And Kendrick, as he dominates the streaming era, he is winning, probably parents in the older generation, but he's winning a new generation of fans. And there is, the generation below me that was like in high school and stuff, where you think, I'm trying to think, so the graduating class of 2024, yeah, easy math check. I guess we're in 2025 now, but that would have been, they would have been entering high school in 2021. So the only new album they would have gotten from Kendrick in their high school age would have been Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Again, a great album, but it's a different entry point to the Kendrick Lamar career. And as great as that album is, like we're saying, the albums at the beginning, like Good Kid, Mad City and To Butterfly, and those are projects are just untouchable in kind of a different way. So if you're entering, for guys like myself in our age range, where we're, right before high school and those early high school days, where those are the two albums that are dropping at that time, and those are the entry points for us to Kendrick Lamar. And it's just a different, and it's a different maturity as well too. The subject matter on Mr. Morale versus just the relatability of a story, like and maybe relatability is not the right word. I'm not, as a Midwest guy, you're not relating to a Compton story the same way, but just the vivid imagery of that story and the relatability of a youth making his way in the world as a young man at that time. Just having a guy explain it that eloquently over the mic and over production that is that fun to listen to. It's like this is the thing. So if you're a kid in high school and Mr. Morale is like Kendrick is dropping, Savior as the first song that you're listening to, it's like his new material. It's just a different type of thing. So him being introduced to, like, he is introducing himself to these new audiences that Drake is mentioning here. So it's like, Drake, maybe do we want to keep the minors out of your out of the lyrics right now? Maybe, but it is these audiences that these new audiences that are being uh, you can't say tapped into chat because that's a pause, but these new audiences that are being brought into the fold for these guys. But using you for promotion, truer words have never been spoken. Guys want to see RIP me on a T-shirt like I'm Hulk Hogan. I appreciate the fans rocking with me. This is really just a small token. Really effing with the visionary. Only reason I got a girl and ain't married because I'm really out here filling up the itinerary till I'm 6 feet in a cemetery. Chat, Drake, that's a bar. I don't know if we need to bring back the segment because I think it's self-explanatory. That is a bar. At least I honestly, is that my favorite bar in the whole chat? The whole bar chat? The whole, whatever it's called. That bar. Is it hit hard on a Valentine's Day pause? I think it might, chat. But Drake, every now and then, you're like, the reminders are there. And that was one of the reminders where I was like, oh, he's still bringing it, chat. Bulletproof door so heavy got me rolling around like a dignitary. Funny how only these guys are waiting on the boys' obituary, because if I die, it's these guys that become the sole beneficiary. What the F they gonna do with it? Head of girls up at 21 on stage working with a dictionary. Guilt trips, not Turk trips. When it's cold out here in February, because right now, Shorty parachuting Molly like she flying for the military. This girl face so pretty, I only think of missionary, and then we're right back into it with Drake. But that is the Drake experience, Jeff Oz. Like he's gonna give you a bar, and then he's gonna give you a bar. He's gonna give you something like this girl's face so pretty, I can only think of missionary. But yeah, he's at least like we're saying, reminding his fans of the fact that he has not forgotten that he is on top of the game at this point. But verse 2, F that, make the beat switch, turn the hose up, give a million to him. And like the verse says, we do get a beat switch. And I think we get like 3 beat switches in this song. More, it's the first to second I think is a little, not subtle, but it's a little more makes sense than the first to or the second to third. And again, not even makes sense, but it's a little more closely aligned to the first. The first and second beat are just a little more closely aligned to the second and the third beat, but that's just more of a pivot. At least if I remember that correctly. For how much I listen to the songs that afternoon, I probably should. But uh, right now, got so many villas booked. Right now, I got so many villas booked on them, like I'm billing them. Dirk's boy told me Marvin Room's his favorite song. He was drilling to it, and I don't know if he chose this song in this album. And Dirk boy, Dirk's boy, Dirk is the alias of rapper Devontae Banks, also known as stage name Lil Durk. Drake and Dirk have occasionally collabed on a few occasions, once on a single release by the two Latin later, and again on the Bible, the first track on Drake's video, Loverboy. In the lyric, Drake states how Dirk's son, Dirk has two sons' favorite song was Marvin. Oh, okay, Chad. So I guess I took that a little bit differently than what I initially thought. So I thought, I guess, dirty minded Rem Chat thought that when I first heard the song, I thought he was Dirk's boy, as in just, like one of Dirk's boys, like one of the guys in Dirk's crew was a big fan of Marvin's. Because again, like Dirk is a next generation guy. Like you would assume that Dirk was in his crew would have been bumping Take Care. They would have been in the age range to be bumping Take Care as you know younger kids. And not to make this a sketchy thought, but I would have assumed that he would have thought that. Or I thought that Dirk's boy was basically saying that he was drilling to Marvin's room. Like what else are we doing to these R&B tracks that Drake is dropping? Chat. What else is sexy songs for you? Or what else is Drake's intentions? So I thought that maybe he was trying to be like, hey, because one of the narratives I thought in this beef was the fact that, uh, like how, like obviously Drake's alignment with the culture, but not just Drake's alignment with the culture, but how did even some of those classic albums that he dropped align with the culture? Because there's a lot of people being like, when Take Care dropped and he was singing on Marvin's Room, it was like maybe Drake's not for me. And again, Drake's not for you. Drake's not for you. That's not what I'm saying. It's just like it's like this is a different type of thing than what we're. And again, I'm not trying to speak on whatever. That's not my position. I'm just saying as a music fan, I guess is where the perspective that I should be speaking from instead. But for like people that are maybe saying that Marvin's Room is not like a hip hop music thing in a way that it should be from like a rapper from a rapper giving this performance, doing these R&B type stuff. I thought maybe he was trying to validate it as like, hey, look at these guys in this crew that's like running around over here, Dirk and these rappers, like not that this crew is like, gangbanging, but just as like these guys are drill rappers and like a tough guy type crew, but they're still bumping Take Care, they're still listening to Marvin's Room, and they're still drilling to it, chat. But I guess it's a little bit more wholesome than that. It's just Marvin's Room, some kid's favorite song. But shout out, Take Care, great album. So it would make sense that one of the better songs of the album would be your favorite song. But thousands of guys rapping Murder It and 10 guys that'll really do it. So that right after the Dirk bar, he's talking about Dirk, chat. I bet that's yeah, shout out to Dirk. Shout out to Dirk. What does it say? Okay, quoting genius. While many rappers in the industry claim to, KILL people in their lyrics, only a few of them actually do it. Drake gives a shout out to Dirk here, claiming he's one of the ones from the genre that actually lived the gangster lifestyle. Chat. Dirk is up to no good on the streets. We know that, chat. Dirk is out there. Dirk is out there. Savage, you the only guy checking on me when we really in some it, brother. Savage, like we said earlier, Savage is a real one. Savage will get Drake a hug in a time of need. I don't. I got to go back and look at the quotes though. Like we'd have to go back and remember how public was some of this 21 Savage. I think 21 Savage was like publicly pretty neutral because again, like he's a Metro Boomin collaborator, and Metro Boomin a friend as well too. And Metro Boomin like kind of I would say I guess I'd have to go, but he was him and Metro more like day one, than him and Drake because of their come up together. At least just in terms of music careers and stuff like that. But with Metro and Drake being on opposing sides of the beef, I just remember being 21 Savage like kind of neutral. So yeah, like Savage checking in on Drake in this time is not like a shocking reveal on the bar, but is Savage like out there want to be the guy that's like publicly like, yeah, Drake's my boy, I got Drake's back. Drake is because again, everybody right now is like, but yeah, well, Savage was on a song with Drake, so he was on 100 Gigs. I guess, like I said, we were bumping Circadian with him, but yeah, him and Thugs, they're both out there collabing, doing stuff, so they're moving with Drake. They're fine. Melissa Ford, view a legend from the six. Hate to see you with a with a D sucker. It'll be lit all summer. Tell Tony leave the motor running. Tell Mike that's the ceiling too low in the movie. How we supposed to throw 100? Where we go, chat? They dropping it, but we dropping harder. It F a rap beef. I'm trying to get the party lit. Trying to get the party lit for me. And I don't know what Genius will say about this one, chat, but this bar was interesting, especially with Kendrick making allegations that Drake like steals his lyrics and stuff. Like this sentiment is kind of what Drake said in uh, uh, Whacked Out Murals chat, where he literally is like F a double entendre. I want you to feel this, and this is literally what Drake is saying here. F a rap beef. I want to get the party lit. So let's see. What does the quiz say, chat? Did I get the answer right? Let's see. So again, quoting Genius, the Genius quiz of Drake's album. Is that basically what it is? You go through the lyrics and you're like, did I get the meaning right? Is it line up? I know we're 0 for 1 already with the with the Drake dirt lyrics, but for this one, anyways, Drake's shift to party music signals a desire to move past the 2024 rap beef. He was participating with Kendrick Lamar, and instead of embrace a more carefree vibe, he is now mostly focused on having fun and connecting with women through upbeat tracks instead of male drama. Ironically, this line echoes something Kendrick said about him in Euphoria. I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he acts tough. This line can this line connects to the feud in another way. It sounds incredibly similar to lyrics from Kendrick's earliest Instagram. Uh, F a rap battle. This a lifelong rap battle with yourself. Okay. This could be Drake's attempt to take the power away from that line. The battle with himself turns into a party. Instead of any internal struggle, Kendrick alleged he just turned up and having fun. Trying to get the party lit is also a contrast to the title of Kendrick's track, "The Day the Party Died," which Kendrick first released after their widely publicized beef. Okay, I that one actually I really like as well too. That makes it. I could definitely see him responding to that title as well. But yeah, like Kendrick directly putting that line in Whacked Out Murals, and I mean, did Drake listen all the way through GNX chat and like Whacked Out Murals? Was he like how long through Whacked Out Murals did he get through? Did he make it to the later verses in that song? But I think that's like first verse. I think that's when I had to cue up the song. I know the lyric right as it's about to drop, but can I pull it out right away? I think it's first verse though. But yeah, he could have heard that one. But I was like, oh, that's kind of close to what Kendrick is saying. And I saw a clip as well too of I don't know if it was 100 gigs or one of the snippets that dropped. It was if it was a snippet that would have been a tough look, but it was like this SoundCloud clip was like incredibly similar to this snippet. It was like right away. This clip wasn't like super popular. I don't know how it got in my algorithm. It had like 40 likes. So either it got in and just like right at the beginning, I got it like right as it was posted, or it's fake and for some reason just hasn't gone viral yet. I thought it was real, but I was like, oh no, we're gonna get it right away for this next album. But yeah, he's just like, screw it, I'll just take from Kendrick himself, see if he notices. But the Nike tights is hugging on it, and they missed it. What's up? Guys is hating the boy for sure. The women in love. Walking into strip clubs, I miss those. Give him a hug. Give him a hug. Give him a hug. Give him a hug. Part three, he goes on to say, yeah, I know that you work in a club. I know that these people might judge, but F it, you family to us. So come over here and give me some love. Yeah, give me a hug. I miss you hoes. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. What can I say? Miss you girls. I'm always stuck. Princess Gigi Poo Pink Luxury. Y'all, y'all gotta come on stage. Y'all gotta come on stage. Y'all gotta show me love. I know how I'm pumping. I give it up. Hey, yo, pause. The guys in here ain't spending enough. Bae, I miss you. I'm talking to you, baby. I miss you. Yeah. Bae, Drake is saying Bae in 2025. Oh, is this a line from Aaron Hall's 2023 hit? I miss you, chat. Does he say Bae? Because if he doesn't, Drake, tough luck. Also, tough luck. I guess. Well, never mind. We're not gonna get controversial with any statements, but shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody. All professions across. And we weren't gonna criticize anything like that. I just, don't want to accidentally say something that could be misconstrued, so we'll just avoid it. I guess is that living scared chat? Yes, but also, there are certain groups we don't want to offend. I don't want to offend the stripper groups of Princess Gigi Poo Pink and Luxury Chat. I don't want to offend any of the dancers. If this is where Drake wants to hang out, by all means. I'm not judging him for that. By all means, hang out wherever you want to hang out. Invest in the economy, however you want to invest in the Canadian or American economy. Support, local businessmen. I get it, but yeah. Anyways, easily best song off the album. Great production. Drake going forward with the performances, and you can tell as well too that there's just like in some of these solo songs, there's a little bit step up in just the energy. Again, I don't know if it's shout out Castle Team C getting the first win on the Rising Star Challenge. So they'll be moving on to the final. It's a semifinal final. So you got four teams, two teams that advance to the final, and then we'll get the winner. So Castle crossing over Sar for the mid-range winner. Keontae George letting him take the shot. Steph Castle. He's going to be in the dunk contest tomorrow. He's going to be a star of All-Star Weekend, and he's just going to be a star in general. San Antonio has got a guy. Wemby is awesome. And the hit of getting Wembanyama was the lottery. Because, you knew he was going to be the number one pick. That was such a lock. You knew you weren't going to trade it. There just wasn't really anything on the table for what Wembanyama could potentially be that, what is Milwaukee going to give up Giannis? Speaking of Davis earlier, there was a report from that trade that came out that said that Dallas actually did call Milwaukee about that deal, which was one of the things that we were wondering about when that deal happened. We were looking at all the potential deals that we ran through. And make no mistake, we went through the whole league. If you want to go back to that live stream, we laid out a bunch of big trade possibilities for what the Mavs could have potentially done. And you kind of look at it and go, hey, Anthony Davis is not bad. Not bad is obviously not what you want to get. Doncic is, I get it, but you get what I'm saying. Anthony Davis is the best you could have done if Giannis was not on the table. And Giannis, it does not seem like he was on the table. So again, going back to Wemby, there's just nothing that you're going to trade Wemby for. And you just know every day going into the draft as the number one pick that is the guy. So prior to that draft order being set, the moment where we actually landed a one pick was like, we get Wembanyama. That was the excitement. But Castle, we believed in Castle, obviously. I thought Castle would have been the best player in the draft. The excitement of getting best player in the draft before the pick. There's a certain level of confidence you have when you think he's the best player. But still, this class was a certain class. And would it be impactful in year one? And how impactful would it be? What would it look like? You just see Castle is, again, I think continues to show that he is the best player in the class. Oh, excuse me, Chad. And that is just a big win for San Antonio to have that happen 2 years in a row. But, shout out to Castle. Shout out to Give Me a Hug. This is immediate playlist, immediate ad. Drizzy Drake back in the mix, and I don't want to speak like too hot takey chat right away. Instant reaction to this to the songs. Again, it is just a couple hours removed from the album dropping, but I think this goes into the mix for one of the better songs that Drake has dropped in the 2020s as of late, especially when you consider maybe the stakes for it is part of it, but you just got poignant Drake giving us lyrical content. I know I'm kind of being contradictory. It's like I like Drake fun, but I could use Drake. It's like it's as a hip hop fan, I want to see that strong lyrical performance as much as possible. I'm just saying, if he's giving us some fun punchlines, I'm also not going to hold it against him. But he's giving us that with poignant lyrical material and great production, beat switches. It really checks all the boxes, chat. And like we're saying, I mean, he's definitely dropped some good performances as well. So I know we're saying like this album compared to other albums. I say this album's the best album he's dropped in the 2020s, but this song, I mean, Champagne Poetry, I think, is kind of a lock number one right now for at least the 2020s decade. You got 8 a.m. in Charlotte in the mix, and then Rich Flex did get nominated as well too for the Grammys for like best performance and best rap song. And I think for first person shooter mode probably would be in the mix if unfortunately just didn't get nerfed in the beat. But for those guys going back and forth over great production is a great song as well too. And then there's just like the hits that he's had. If you want to get into like the Jimmy Cooks, Privileged Rappers, Time Flies, like tier of songs. But again, for what this song addressing the beef, like compared to those songs, just kind of being fun lyrical songs, you could give this song in the edge in that way. So it's just a fun track, seeing him bring a strong rapping performance back, and again giving us hope for not that this album's like a hopeless album for Jersey Drake in the future, but if Drake is going to go back into that, if Drake wants to stray away from the melodies and try to be a tough guy again and give us some bars, this is if that solo album that he is going to drop next. This gives us hope for his ear for curation, and when he is in that rapping bag and in that mode, he is still giving us as strong a performances as anybody in the game. I mean, this is as strong as the rap track that is dropped. Again, if we're going outside and again, maybe this track is not outside the beat as well too, but like the way like a squabbled up, or like we're saying with like a whacked out murals, might be outside the beat, but also have beat references in it. Like I don't know if this track. Actually, that's a good question. Let me see. Where would this track rank on GNX? Because, and I don't want to say this to like big Drake fans feel bad and say, this track is the sixth best song on GNX, but just GNX is such a strong track list. Whacked out murals, squabble up, Luther, Man at the Garden, Reincarnated, TV Off, Heart Part 6. Like I personally, again, I said before, I love Dodger Blue. I know that the track is just ranked near the bottom, again, not as a diss to the track, just because the rest of the track was just solid, but just to bring it up as a strong track. Peekaboo as well too, of course. Gotta mention it as well. Performed at the Super Bowl. Do we take like? Could we take? Oh, man, which song would we even take off over it, Chad? If we were really, pause. Really, being optimistic on the Drake side of things. I want to say I've been bumping the Hard Part 6 a lot, Chad, recently. I can't put it over Luther, can't put it over Whacked Out Murals, can't put it over Squabbled Up. Like Squabbled Up would be the one where it's like, okay, if I had to trade a song out of the track list, like I would keep TV Off as the energy song and then just trade. Like I have to make a trade of Kendrick for a Drake song. I would trade Squabble Up for Give Me a Hug, but I don't know if I would say Give Me a Hug is just straight up a better track than Squabble Up. So it's close. I could, I guess it's preference, however you want to rank it. I think however you want to rank the GNX track list, honestly, is fine as well too. Again, Luther number one if you're leaning into more of the pop vibes. We have Reincarnated number one for more of the storytelling vibes. Again, we have TV Off number one or Whacked Out Mural number one. which is like maybe a sneaky most replayed for me. Who knows? My most replayed might just be like Dodge Blue and Whacked Out Murals and Hard Part 6, maybe Peekaboo now, chat. It just changes all the time. I guess the whole album just been constant replay. But yeah, this was okay. That peak version of Jersey Drake, it's still in there, and he still has, a lot of great rapping performances to give us eventually down the future as well too. And we only get one more other. No, we get the Rainy in Houston, then we get Nokia as well too, as a solo Drake track later on. Nokia is nuts track. Nokia is one of those tracks that's like, is it so bad it's actually good? I feel like we're getting a weird playlist from these mainstream rappers of like these hip hop. What was it, like anime beats? Chat, is that even like the right way to describe them? Like I feel like there's just like I feel like there's a certain region that these beats are coming out of the world. Chat. If you get what I'm saying, like between this and Bomb from Kanye off the Vultures album, like it feels like that is the beginning of some sort of certain playlist. But it's like, is it almost catchy? Like how annoying and kind of bad this song can lean into? Like that would be the one that I'm either skipping it or just like listening it on repeat for a bunch. Like it's either the best song or the most annoying song of all time. I can't really decide that. But Raining in Houston gets us back on those R&B vibes, and Drake back with the melodies. But gets us kind of a good transition as well too. He's not, giving us weekend level. What was the one from the album that was really crazy? Baptized in Fear into Open Hearts. It's not really maximizing what Spotify can give you from a transition standpoint, but he does progress the song nicely and then get us right back into, because again, like I'm saying, we get five, six, one, two, three, four, five, six Drake tracks, but three of them in those four songs right there, and then that Pity's Dilemma being the only break in the mix, and that one, like we're saying, being an interlude, and there's not really a verse from those guys, just kind of vocals from our girl Pim. So even though that is still a solo Drake track in that mix, and even though we're in this Drake sort of triumphant rappy phase of the album, he starts to pivot us back into the R&B vibes here with the Raining in Houston, and I think he did a good job of that. So again, like the album, if the album, obviously the quality is not for you, then you're just not going to go back to, I think, the whole album if you don't like the sound of some of these songs. But if you are messing with this R&B sound, like there is a cohesion here and a sonic progression where you can see the pieces of a Drake solo album forming. You're like, okay, I think we're still going to get a really strong drop. And like I'm saying, with For All the Dogs, in the moment, you're looking at this going, oh, well, maybe Drake he didn't give us an instant classic. It's not Take Care. It's not Nothing Was the Same. It's not, it's not these other all-time albums that Drake has given us. It's still an album, like I'm saying, that I've revisited a ton. There's songs that I go back to a lot. And an album that I have to go back to say, yeah, it's a strong album and an album that I would recommend somebody go through and maybe you're not going to revisit that album a ton, but you're going to find, again, tracks from the album that I think are going to really stick in a playlist in a big way. So the other big standout track for me, Somebody Loves Me, I saw was in one of the Spotify new release playlists. Obviously, Give Me a Hug is going to be like the Rap Caviar mainstay, going to be in a lot of these playlists. I mentioned Small Town Fire? I really liked it too. I thought that was a strong track. We'll see, I guess, how some of these other earlier tracks fare just in terms of the algorithm, what the algorithm pushes. But I did see it, I guess, start to push Somebody Loves Me. So I guess we'll see that one out there. But, well, I guess there was a couple more standout tracks. There's a couple of tracks. But Meet Your Padre, Drake, leaning into the accents. He doesn't care. He will still mix up the voices, and he's in his Spanish bag. He doesn't bring Bad Bunny on for this one. But I gotta say, I don't know if it's because I've been making a lot of pupusas lately, but Meet the Padre is kind of a slap. I kind of like Drake on the Spanish vibes. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't added it officially into the playlist quite yet, but it is a song that I'm not minding replaying whatsoever. Oh wait, this is Small Town Family. I was like, yeah, I forgot how much I like this one. Yeah, here we go. Oh, chat! Mariachi chat! Cinco de Mayo! I know it's Valentine's Day, but can we start the Cinco de Mayo right now? Mamacita! This is a slap chat. I'm in. I'm in on Meet the Padre. You can't change my mind. Screw it. I'll add it in my playlist right now, and I can't wait to see what the shuffle on this incredible playlist. This just 3,000-hour masterpiece of a rap history playlist. We'll see how Meet the Padre fits in here. But yeah, we go Nokia after that, and then Die Trying. I'm not gonna lie, chat. Like I said, we're all about honesty here on the Pod. I will tell you guys exactly what I'm trying to think, what I'm thinking in the moment about some of these songs. And I'll, like I said, before on the dogs, I'll tell you where I'm wrong with some of the tracks. Die Tryin' is my second favorite song on the album. I've really been messing with this song. And with Give Me a Hug, it's Drake, he's rapping, it's what we want to see from, a rapper, hip hop type guy. But Die Trying is, I think, Drake really singing his heart out here. And maybe singing his heart out, like, in terms of energy. Is there an extra level he could go to? Sure. But it doesn't seem like there's like a ton of auto tune or production on this, on the vocals for his track. I mean, there is probably some sort of auto tuning or whatever, but it's not like whatever it is. It's not super aggressive, and it just feels like this is about as natural of a Drake singing performance that we've gotten. And again, the complete opposite. Like, there's literally no rapping on this song whatsoever. Like, this is Drake full R&B, full sing, full pop. But it's a slap. I don't know what to tell you. I love this song. Crooning Drake is, he's got me in my feels for Valentine's Day, chat. Drake with the melodies. This is peak Drake with the melodies. Give Me a Hug is Drake back in his rap bag. We can't say peak Drake rapping. There's other peak Drake rapping forms. This, I think, is, I guess, again, going back to some of those early R&B days. That's obviously peak Drake with the melodies. But what he's given us here on this track, and because it leads into the singing as well too, it really allows Party to shine in this track. Where if Party's not gonna drop punchlines and stuff the way that Drake is, then it doesn't matter. They're both singing, they're both crooning. It's both kind of a soft lyrical song. And then Yiba at the end as well too to round it out and just bring us home with some nice emotional flows at the end track. This is end of this track. This, like I said, would probably be my next. I honestly, 1, 2, 3 chat might be Give Me a Hug, Die Trying, Meet Your Padre. I mean, no, again, honest, it is what it is. Sometimes I feel like our top 5 was, again, I'd have to go out and look at, go look at the Instagram comments on some of these posts and see what we're getting for top 5s. But at least instant reaction top 3. Those are the 2 that stood out, and then Meet Your Padre, chat. I'm having fun with it. What's chat in Spanish? El Chato? Beach Your Padre El Chato. It's a great time. And you just hit replay chat, boom, we're right back in it. This guitar riff is killer, chat. I'm not even gonna lie. It's, again, give me the hug, give me the hug, give me the hug. That's the original Drake version, and then it got softened up over time. Give me a hug. I mean, this is, you can't top this in terms of this track list, just in terms of what you're checking the boxes for on a rapping performance. Maybe there's another lyrical level that Drake could unlock. Or you could always say that. There's always whatever. This is tough to beat, but pause. But for the R&B vibes, for Drake crooning, for Drake singing, for Drake with the melodies, I think Die Tryin' is the best. I guess the soft version of that, because again, going back to some of these earlier songs like CN Tower, This song is honestly kind of growing on me. Pause. I'm not even gonna lie. A lot of honesty here at the end of the pod chat. A lot of honesty. I don't know if we took some truth serum on one of the breaks, but I guess it's just now kicking in because we're telling you these tracks, they're growing on us. We kind of like them. I guess we're forgetting about Small Town Fame. See, that's the problem, again, that he has just from an overall sort of album curation standpoint is if he were narrowing this down to 10 or so tracks, I think there's a strong version of this album where, yeah, sorry, party, are we cutting out deeper? You could leave in Pam's Dilemma. I guess, are we just, if we leave the Drake solo songs and a couple of the interludes, do we have an album chat? Is that what we're saying? I don't know. But if you're going CN Tower and then into, Crying in Chanel, Spider-Man, Superman, leave it in! Leave it in! Small Town Fame, Pam's Dilemma, Brian Steele, Give Me a Hug, Rain in Houston, Meet Your Padre, leave it in! Pause, Dying Trying, Somebody Loves Me, and then I think Greedy's a fun way to end this off. Greedy's a solid track too. On My Way and Glorious are a little bit of filler. The production on Glorious is kind of sneaky good though. I have been kind of digging this beat. And the drums on it are kind of, funky off-pace drums. The NFR pod compared this to an Ice Spice song, which I was like, hey, I hear it once for sure. Like once you, uh, definitely once it's out there, it definitely makes sense. But hey, some of those Ice Spice beats pretty catchy. So I guess Glorious kind of leads into that as well too. So I don't know if that's a keeper, but it's not terrible. But I think Ree's a fun outro as well too. And a good way to round out this album. And again, Drake on his singing vibes. You could definitely keep this one. But if you cut this down to the 12 to 15 range, you'd be looking at maybe a much more a unanimously approved album. Not the unanimous approval is what you're going for. You gotta please your band, you gotta stay true to yourself. And if staying true to Drake is 20 songs on an album, which it appears to be, then by all means go for it. But it does mean that there is a greater chance that there's probably going to be also some skips as well too for the people. It's just tough, chat. Like there's really only a handful. Like if you really want to go through the no skips, like I have to. I guess no skips is different than I have to play this song. Like that's a different category. Like it's a generational thing as well too. Like Good Kid, Mad City is gonna, I think, continue just to make a push as the greatest album of all time because it has that factor to it, where you just every song on the album is almost like I have to play this song. There's storyline parts for it, but just every song's a hit. Every song is a hit, and Illmatic. Every song on that is great. Ready to Die. Every song on that is great. Like those are albums. Reasonable Doubt. These are all albums you could have ranked above it as of right now from a legacy standpoint, and they all have those classic songs that it's like we have to play it. But just that hit rate of that is every song on the album. That is a different level of song. But then to even for the longer 20-song albums, like to just go zero skips on an album, like is it 10? 10? Can we get to 10? Wait, maybe we can get to 10. Start going through history here. But it's tough to do, Chad. It's tough to do. But it's what the man wants to give us. I'm sure there's streaming numbers with all that as well too. I mean, my Drake streaming hours listened to is like totally caught back up now this year. I know, like we were saying, he was on a little bit of a rotational pause, and I know maybe listen to this album maybe a couple more times than maybe a normal person for normal reasons. But if this was just like a normal rotation or whatever, but regardless, either way, he's getting a listen, so it is what it is. But give me the give me the hug. I think we're just gonna start calling it "Give Me the Hug." The old hug song was definitely this. It's Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day is the day for the exes, chat. Are we just totally missing the point of Valentine's Day? We said to begin the pod that it was for the side pieces, and now to end the pod, we said it's for the exes. It is what it is, chat. But it can be a day where you fall back into some previous relationships. You never know. Is Drake a guy that you're like, hey, maybe if we're not listening at the moment, Valentine's Day, he's dropping a song. We saw Drake in place and we didn't think we were going to see him at, and now all of a sudden, we're in our fields on Valentine's Day. We're just give me the hug on replay all day. So I don't know what's going to happen when we wake up tomorrow. To be honest, are we going to be like, I don't know. I guess we'll just tune in on the next live stream. Like, that is a thing that is like, we're nervous about the Drake performance today, but today was still about the Drake album musically. Like, in the entertainment zeitgeist today was about Drake from an anticipation standpoint. And I knew that regardless of what was going to happen, kind of good or bad, it was going to be focusing on what this project was. So, waking up tomorrow, post Valentine's Day clarity, will we have kind of a new sense of these songs, and will they, what will be the life? How will they live on? That's always going to be the question. But just that sort of, because Drake especially, like, the in the moment stuff was going to be curious to watch with him. And again, shout out to P&D. I don't know how that is going to affect the numbers either way. Is it's going to bring people in? Who knows? But is it going to turn the audience away? Like, how many people is it going to turn off from the album? Because if not the solo Drake albums, they're not going to have the similar sort of numbers that Drake would do by himself. And just in general, like 2025, it'll be a good barometer just in general. For one, what is Drake able to do, like we're saying, but what can albums do just in general? Like, let's remind ourselves real quick. What did GNX sell in that first week? I want to say 295. Oh, it did get to 319. Okay. Chromacopia was at the 2995. Okay, that's what it was. That's where I was getting. I remember there was one of them that got like just under that 300 number. Eminem again, shout out 281. And of course, Travis Scott, 260 or 360 with the re-release. You can't underestimate how impressive that is, and it would have debuted at number one on the charts as well too if it had not been for Sabrina Carpenter and her album as well. But yeah, For All the Dogs, I believe did like 4 something, and so did Her Loss as well. So 21 as well is a little bit more mainstream. So there probably is actually gonna be a legit audience that might tune in just for 21 Savage. Like, there is gonna be a core probably that tunes in just for Party, but the core that would tune in for 21 on the Her Loss side would actually probably be a decent boost for what the album would be, especially since that album I think as well too was a little bit more. This album had some rollout and some promo, which we should mention on the promo as well too, since we're saying and claiming that Drake stole everything on this album anyway. We're just gonna mention it and move on and still try to give the guy some credit, but just taking the $ logos and the rabbits right from our guy Freddie Gibbs. Drake, what are we doing? Freddie Gibbs, Soul, You Only Die Once. That's got some sexy songs right down. You only die once was an album of the year contender. I guess Soul Sold Separately was the album that he was using the $ on, but that album wiped you down. It is what it is, Chad. Freddie Gibbs, he's baller right now. Freddie Gibbs on top. We just keep adding guys on the list above Drake. We were like, hey, Drake's the top still, and then it's like actually the top of the list. It's like the NBA though. There's a good stack of guys at the top of the list. But yeah, For All the Dogs did do over 400K. And then Her Loss was really close. So 402 for Drake, For the Dogs, 404 for Her Loss. So we don't think it was. I guess 21 Savage brought in 2,000 bands. First week consumption. I guess I would have lost. We were going backwards for years there. So, is he going to do 400 with Party in the Next Door and Post Beat and all that stuff? Like, it's hard to imagine him doing 400 on the first week, especially since last year, like, it seemed like GNX didn't do 400. Like, again, with all due respect to Drake, like, probably not going to do as much as GNX. But does he? Like, it'll be interesting. Does he do as much as Tyler? Like, if Chromacopia outsells some sexy songs for you in the first week, and again, it's a different thing. It's a collab. If Drake drops a solo album this year, 20, early 26, 26, who knows? And that does a crazy number, then it's like, oh, yeah, of course, whatever. But, it's a future Metro at 251. Can Drake and Party? Maybe we shut the bar at 251. To be honest, like what range will it be in chat? I feel like it's got to be at least Vulture's one. If Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign can do 148, like Drake and Party next door can do at least 148. But will they do We Don't Trust You future Metro Booming numbers? Because they also had the Like That verse on that with the anticipation of what might happen, just the in the moment, like, oh man, Kendrick, he's going after the big three. Will something spark off? What is this? This is crazy. Kendrick is back, chat. Like that moment definitely helped this album as well too. So this album doesn't have that moment, though it does have Give Me the Hug on it, and Drake sort of addressing Eminem at 281. Like it'll be interesting to see where he stacks up here with this first week number. Does he do two with Party in the next door? I think he might do 260 with this album. The Weeknd did just four. He just did 400 though, and I don't know if they'll have it listed here with the hip hop guys here for 2025. But he almost did 500, and I know there was some sales stuff with that in terms of the physical copies being pushed. I mean, they're all labels are always pumping them in some way. But I think Drake, he's out to prove that is true. But regardless, he did a fantastic number, the highest we've seen in a while from at least guys running around in the circle. So we've got Wham right now, dropping 140, and that one was I think even a little boosted as well. I mean, I'm sure. Well, I guess I'm not sure. Drake out boosted, right? Probably not at all. Which is another reason to say, hey, what is that number going to be? Like, this will be a true sort of what, and I guess I'm not, again, a lawsuit expert. Oh, look at that chat. Both the Thompson kids on the same team. What do you know? Love to see it. All-Star Weekend. And love to see that they're both at this level. Because, again, shout out to Asar. Like, Amen's kind of taking the limelight as the young rising star. But Asar is a baller as well, too. He's going to have a great career in the league. He'll be a great player. Buzelis, though, this is a crazy team. The Thompson twins and Buzelis, they're not that three-man combo is not on the court right now together. Both the Thompson twins are on the bench. But the length of that is crazy. Pause. But again, I don't know what the lawsuit like. I'm sure he's still under contract with a label, so I'm sure they're still incentivized to make money somehow by promoting these songs. But let's see actually, how did this get released? Oh, here, and then we can double check the Hurry Up Tomorrow number while we're over here, chat. It debuted at 58 million streams with its first day on Spotify. Streaming international. Oh, why does it not have the? Oh yeah, here we go. 490.5. Yeah, 359,000 pure outs. The hoodies hot off the shelves. Honestly, if you're an artist these days, I don't know why you don't do that. Why would you not sell a hoodie? Why would you not sell a hoodie with your vinyl? It seems like everybody wants to buy clothes too. So put some merch on there. Seems like it works. But going back to the oh yeah. Records. So it's still, of course, being distributed by UMG as it would. So again, I'm not saying they're going to bury this album because Drake's still going to make, I mean, as much money as anybody in the business, right? Ideally, so are they going to sign me the first week number on this album to make it look bad? Like long term, does that make UMG more money to get Drake at a contract disadvantage? I mean, we know it does, of course, get a contract disadvantage, but by de-promoting this album, does that do that? Does that accomplish their goal? I mean, I just don't know. I don't know what the slimy business moves are here. Potentially, not get this album after the first week after they wanted to have. But if he does outsell Kendrick in the first week, he's in commercial status. You know, hail his commercial. But you know, when like we're saying, when these guys have moments, you know, any guy, like it's gonna raise your streaming, it's gonna raise the interest. People are just gonna be bumping your music and bumping the stuff that you just dropped. Like we were saying with Tyler, like Tyler has seen a bump because Chromacopi was another solid project, and more people are on Tyler, and he just continues to grow his resume with each project, and he just continues to climb the streaming ranks. And Kendrick as well too. Like Kendrick with GNX with Super Bowl has now climbed and established to where he's up to. Kendrick is at 95.1 million monthly listeners. Kendrick is fifth in the world. I was gonna say Kendrick might climb to number one. You can't put it past him. Kendrick honestly might. I'm not even gonna sit here and say he won't because that's gonna be a take that would definitely age poorly. I will say that I'm just gonna put it out there. The numbers, Bruno Mars and The Weeknd are at like 150. So I'm just saying it is a bit of. All I'm saying is it would just take a little bit longer than him reaching just the 1 million threshold. So he would join Bruno Mars, The Weeknd, Lady Gaga, and Billie Eilish as the only four current, and then he would be the fifth to hit the 100 million mark. Bad Bunny is climbing as well too. Is Bad Bunny? He's not quite at his peak yet. He peaked at 95.3. He's at 94.6 right now, monthly listeners. His daily trend is actually down right now. But he just dropped an album so recently, so his number is up as well too. I guess Coldplay is back in the mix. They just dropped a single. Rihanna always just crushing on top of the list. And I guess she's peaking as well too. Is this the Super Bowl boost? I think it probably is because make no mistake, I've been bumping more Rihanna than even normal chat because of the Super Bowl performance. I went back and rewatched and remembered how good was how awesome her performance was in that. SZA as well too. We see at 9, Taylor Swift at 10. So if we were just going for peak monthly listeners here, we would have uh, 8 artists that have peaked at over 100 million. So again, who's currently at 100 million? Kendrick is uh, fifth right now currently. But if we're looking at all-time peaks, Kendrick is 12th for all-time peaks. So like we were saying, he has the highest all-time peak right now for a rapper, right? That streaming record. And being the first one to crack the 90 million mark, now he's the first to crack the 95 million mark. We would assume, like we're saying, he would get to that 100 million mark if he keeps progressing like this. If he just adds 1.7 million monthly listeners per day, then yeah, he's going to be at 100 million monthly listeners by the time we hit the next week. But Drake's peak is 86. SZA at 89.9. So a little bit of a teardrop here. SZA to Drake. Drake got to keep up with the X's, buddy. Drake, I mean, if anything, it's just this may just confirm the star power of Drake. If we're just gonna glaze Drake for a second, it's like all the people that he just pisses off, gets mad, just ascend and have amazing careers. Drake is the best motivator of anybody in hip hop. He's broken up with 2 people that are at 90 million monthly listeners, and now Kendrick is at 95 because he beat with Drake. He's gonna go to 100. Like, hey, if it works, it works. Drake is, I guess, the springboard of pop, hip hop. He'll spring into the mainstream, anyways. I guess that's always been the thing, though. The Midas touch, it's like the Midas touch, but unfortunately, he's just transferred his Midas powers this last time to Kendrick, and we'll see what happens. We got M peaking at 86 for rappers. Kanye at 78 for peaks. Travis at 75. He's pretty close to that right now. At 74. So, who is the list right now for just hip hop guys? We got Kendrick 1. We got Bad Bunny 2. We put Bad Bunny 2. Shout out. Drake 3. Eminem 4. Travis 5. Kanye 6. Beyonce, shout out. Pitbull 7. Playboy Cardi 7, I guess. Lil Wayne 8, 21 Savage 9, and then Tyler the Creator is number 10 right now for the top 10 streaming artists. Okay, so I guess if we had Bad Bunny in the list at 10 as well too. If not, we would have Metro. Okay, so we put Metro. We'll do top 11. Put Metro in there as well too. Get a spot for Bad Bunny. Because yeah, then it drops off. Where's Future at? Did we miss Future? Yeah, 50 Cent, Don Tolliver were down to 30, so we must have missed Future chat. Why am I not seeing it? Why am I not seeing the Future chat? That's scary. Oh, thank goodness, chat. Thank goodness he's at 30. So we missed Future. We were Beyonce, starstruck by Beyonce. It is what it is. So if we go top 12, we go Kendrick, Bad Bunny, Drake, Eminem, Kanye, Future, Playboy Cardi, Lil Wayne, 21 Savage, and Metro, Tyler the Creator, and Metro Boomin. And hopefully I heard that right. Should we just look at peak chart position real quick? Because that is interesting too. Like, 100 million now. Like again, the weekend, 125 million. Would have been number one at one point, but he's number two right now. But he would have been number one, even though he's at a peak monthly listenership. Is at number two all time, if that makes sense. Like it's gonna be one of those things. You're gonna look all time and be like, yeah, the 125 would have been peaked at number one, but it's like no, he peaked at number one with actually a lower number than that. But Kendrick, he is at his peak with number 5. Drake peaked at okay, so Drake at 86.5 would be number 3. So I guess if we were trying to build like a super pro, this is how like into the weeds you would have to go with building a pro Drake case. In this case, it would be like, do we have to get like the amount of monthly Spotify users and go, okay, well, is Drake's 95 million, the percentage of that is Drake's 86 more impressive? Like, we're comparing eras and like contract trade value level comparisons now with the monthly listenership or the advanced analytics. But it's like, nah, man, Kendrick is crushing this. But yeah, he did peak at number 3. And then M is peaked at 5, Travis at 5, Kanye at 6, Kendrick at 5. So again, he has kind of ascended the levels that Drake has. I guess the last the last even piece that Drake would be hanging on to would be like, would Kendrick break into the top 3 of like current mainstream guys just in general? But again, he's like top 5 right now over everybody. He's over Bad Bunny post album. Rihanna always into just the top, even though she hasn't dropped. Rihanna always the top. We don't have to pause it. We'll stand on that, I guess. But I guess with all due respect, shout out ASAP Rocky, but good luck, brother. But SZA, of course, with her new releases as well too, and getting Lana and SOS back in the mainstream, and then even Taylor Swift always in the mainstream. And I love when we have the peak listeners, Mariah Carey, the variants where you go Christmas time, she's got 100 million monthly listeners. But why are only 27 million people bumping the Mariah Carey music for the rest of the year? That's way too low. Mariah Carey, superstar. Let's get that number up, Chad. The Kendrick people also play a few Mariah Carey songs in the mix. Let's get that trend going up a little bit. There was somebody at work that we were talking about with like music recommendations and stuff, and they're not a hip hop fan, so that's why we're trying to get this person some recommendations. Like, hey, you need some help out here. But or actually not a guy, but still, it's like, yeah, you gotta get culture no matter what. But but maybe this is where we need to start recommending music. So I was like, what do we like? Obviously you gotta start with Doji. And recommend it to the guys and the girls, all anybody, but especially the girls. Yeah, hey, check out Doji. I feel like it's an easy in for the hip hop game for sure. But maybe we just need to be like, hey, if you want to get culture, like, are you just listening to Mariah Carey? Are you listening to Whitney Houston? Make no mistake, chat. We have been bumping a ton of Whitney Houston lately. and it's one of those things where it's like, why am I just why am I even playing other artists? you know, shout out. Why am I even playing Drake right now? Let me just pull up that Whitney Houston album and just keep playing that chat. Oh man, I guess we were listening to Whitney, of course. So let's just keep working our way through the discography. Should we just go? I'm Your Baby Tonight, chat. Let's do it. 1990, Whitney Houston. Okay, fired up. If we haven't already been taken down for copyrights for playing music as of right now, but yeah, 1.7 monthly listeners per day is crazy, and we're doing it again, chat. SZA as well too. The boost, the Super Bowl boost, and as well just the music that these guys are putting out as well too. The iconic duo. Of course, they would be at the top of the game, but you got, like we're saying, our Dochi recommendations are working, chat. She's top 5 for daily trend. She's going up. Denial's a river. People are listening. But you got to recommend the other tracks. Nissan Altima is a slap. Boom Bap if you want to try to get people more into hip hop. And I guess Nissan Altima keeps snapping on that. But I feel like maybe people could even view that. That doesn't feel like there's a trendiness to that as well in the way that maybe Boom Bap doesn't have. I guess I want to say uh, that even though it is like a full on just rapping onslaught, it it's accessible in a way that's just incredibly fun to listen to. But and not accessible in that it's just that there's not lyrical content in it. I'm just saying it seems like everybody, even if you're not like, oh, I don't want to listen to hip hop, like that's just such a fun song to listen to and sing along to that there's no way that that's not going to be in your rotation. But you start maybe getting into some of the lyrical stuff. It's like, what are you ready for? I guess just in terms of what you're getting recommended. But either way, oh, baby, people are anticipating an album. Travis Scott, of course, blessed band. Benson Boone, people are listening to, I guess. Shout out. Fetty Wap, back in the mix. Love to see it. Of course, the weekend continue to add a couple of new fans every day. Some more people check out that album. The Goo Goo Dolls, making a quick ascension. So Drake, as of right now, is adding 141,000 monthly listeners per day. Number 38. Not bad. A little less than Wale and Dominic Fike. So I guess even more rappers to throw on the name. And Fetty Wap as guys in peak form above above Drake. But we probably have a terrible note to end on their review on just that criticism. But we wrapped it up with. I feel like we were very complimentary of this album the whole time. This is an album that there's going to be songs that, like you said, there's a couple of great songs to this album that we're going to go back to. And if we're in a sexy vibe, this will be the shout out to Wiki Houston playing in the background. But this will be, if we're in the sexy vibes, who knows, Jet? What do we got planned later? You never know. But maybe it probably won't be the Drake album if that's the go-to choice, anyways. It's still gotta Valentine's Day. It's like you gotta curate still some of the finest selections, anyway. So shout out to this. I think I'd say I feel like 6. If I give it a 6, that feels like I'm gonna be negative. So I'm gonna say 7. I'm gonna give this album like a 7 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10 for sure. There's, like I said, replay value here in some of the songs, and a nice sound if you want to try to listen to the. I say try to listen to. It's not a try. You can listen to this whole thing start to finish. It's not trash for sure. This is a good album. I don't know, and it's an interesting start to the year. Like, what are we comparing it up against if we're just going for this year so far? Like, we got Central C, we got Lil Baby. So, yeah, are we putting the Weekend in the mix with these guys? Sure. So, is it better than the Weekend album? Probably not. But I mean, like, I listened to more Drake than Central C. So, would I listen to this more than the Central C album? Maybe Lil Baby. I don't know what songs from that Lil Baby album I added into my playlist. So, shout out. Well, there's a couple, chat, of course. But yeah, there's some songs like we're saying that are going right in, chat. Come on, going to be in the mix, and I think there's some good signs here for if Drake is back in his full rapping bag and focused on rapping and And he kind of had this. I have to go back and look at the timeline for what the formation of this album was. Like, did he want to form this album after the beat? But I feel like this was kind of in the works as well too for a while. So it's like I don't know. Maybe there's a better. There is probably a better version of this album. Between him and for sure. But this is a great R&B album, and yeah, I say great. Yeah, awesome R&B album, solid rapping performances, and some great songs to add into a playlist to get us back on. At least for Valentine's Day chat. I know there's a lawsuit in the mix, and I know there's some complicated feelings with Drake right now in terms of our relationship with him as an artist. But for at least one day, we can get romantic, and we can get pause. We can get Drake back in the rotation and listen to some of these tracks again. So I guess check back in for the next live stream here on the YouTube channel. Stay tuned to the Reverend Sam on Instagram, of course. We will be giving you updated thoughts on this as well as, of course, everything else that happens in sports. And likewise, so let's see, Chai. Did Sam even enter the chat? Sam is goaded if he was in the chat tonight. If there's any chance that Sam is in the chat, I don't see it. I don't see his name at all. There's no way. There is just no way. You never know. Sometimes I'll be like, you know what? Sam might not be in the chat tonight. And it's like, it is what it is. He's moving around. And sometimes he just pops in. And you're like, whoa, we got an appearance from Sam. Let's go. But I was like, are we even gonna get a Drake's album? Could this be the one thing that he's like, well, did Rem like it? He's like, are people saying that the Drake album is good? But I think Sam is like in the, you know what? I'll just listen to my guy, and if you say what it is, then I don't care. But we have to check and see who is at the forefront of Sam's rotation right now. Maybe it's Boss Man D-Lo. Maybe it's some of these other guys. Maybe it is Central C after the album. He's going to the concert, so we know he's bumping those songs. So get ready for that. But like I said, stay tuned to the Instagram, of course. We are over there. TikTok, I think it's back in the app stores, or at least headed that way. So if you guys have it already, then you can follow us over there. But if you need to download it to follow us, then you have your chance. You don't need to buy a $10,000 iPhone off eBay to get that done, which we would never ask. We would just say, hey, it's over on Instagram, just download it. Or YouTube, download YouTube. Spotify, Apple, we're out there on the apps. There's options, there's places to go, people to see, apps to find, pages to follow, the Reverend Sam Pod. We are out there, chat. So we will be back this weekend, All-Star Weekend, some fun stuff happening. So you want to stay tuned, like I said. We will be around, as always, just hanging out, having a good time, watching some hoops, listening to music. I mean, chat, who does it better on a Friday night? Pause, listening to music, watching hoops. The Reverend Sam Pod is the place to be, chat. Is the place to be. So thank you guys for everybody that ditched their loved ones to hang out on the live stream and left your significant others in the. You're just like, sorry, I'm just need to take a 3.5 hour bathroom break real quick because the Reverend Sam Pod is doing a live stream on prime time Valentine's night. But it is what it is, Chad. We are no Bill Belichick, no days off, no days off. And if Drake is dropping an album post beat, you think we're taking a day off, Chad? No way. Not for Vday. Not for a day for the side pieces and the X's. Not when Drake is on the podcast. There it is. There's Valentine's Day. Do we still have time to vent some of these fences, chat? We'll see what happens. But either way, we've got the chat, and that is what is important. This is society is screwed. That's the society is screwed. But shout out, the Reverend Sam. It's a community. It's a community, and we love the community. So we're not looking at it like chat robots, We get it. You guys are real people out there having a good time, and we're having a good time as well. We have a good time because you guys have a good time. So we appreciate the love. We appreciate the support. So yeah, we'll be back this weekend. And thank